Nate Puderball, their sports update. It's the end of spring practice for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and with that came the annual spring game. The defense defeated the offense this afternoon 35-26. It was a short day of work for Julian Sayin, who had a 4-yard touchdown run on the opening drive. Tavian St. Clair and Chris Henry Jr. connected on a pair of deep balls, including a 40-yard touchdown pass. Freshman Luke Fahey added a 61-yard touchdown run late in the game. The Cincinnati Reds knocked off the Twins last night 2-1 on the back of a Eugenio Suarez 2-run double. They square off again today in just a few minutes in Minnesota with Andrew Abbott on the mound for the Reds, taking on Taj Bradley. The Cleveland Guardians fell to the Orioles last night 6-4 when they gave them a 3-run shot in the 8th inning. They look to get payback in Cleveland tonight at 6:10 with Gavin Williams facing the Orioles' Dean Kremer. And Columbus Crew has here in Foxborough tonight to take on New England at 7:30. Breaking sports news and to the Fan, Ohio Sports Destination.
The Fan is live and local with Fan Sports Saturday. The Fan Sports Day of the Week. Oh, this is some clever branding. Here's your host, place, name, here.
Fan Sports Saturday, Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett with you. Very, very happy to be with you guys following the Ohio State spring game. We've got Nate Puderball running things behind the scenes. I think we're going to get you the Ryan Day press conference coming up in just a little bit as well. But talking about this Ohio State spring game, 35-26. The defense rules the day, and we can throw it right now to hear from Ryan Day.
You know, a lot of them stayed out there, and just goes to show you the support that we have means a lot to us. And so that was great. You know, I know, spring games across the country, have been kind of, dwindling. We wanted to make sure we did that. We have, more players this spring than we've ever had. So it was great to see some of those guys get out there and see how they respond. And typically what happens when they're out there for the first time, you see some wild things and then they kind of settle down a little bit. But we were down some bodies, obviously, at running back and some of the offensive line. So, and we wanted to get, obviously, Jeremiah and Brandon out of there pretty early. So, it was good to get out there. We'll look at the film, and it'll be another piece of the evaluation going into the summer.
Bill on the left. Yeah, one guy who seemed to stand out was Tavian. I know he had kind of a bit of a rough practice yesterday. What were your impressions of him, and how comfortable do you feel going into the summer with him as your backup?
Well, being a quarterback at Ohio State is not easy, as you know, and he's battling every day. I think you can see the talent for sure. Threw some really nice balls down the field. And then obviously, missed some as well, and some of the drives, got stymied, but that's part of it, and he's got to learn from those things and can continue to grow. He's been showing up every day with a good attitude, and that's important. So I think we all can see the talent. That's why he was recruited here, and he's got to continue to grind to learn how to run the offense at a high level, because he's going to be an important part of this team. You need to build depth at every position, and so we all know how important quarterback is.
Ryan, do you have any kind of update on Earl Little Jr.? We didn't see him out there yesterday or today.
Yeah, similar to the other guys. He had a procedure on his knee, cleaning something up, and so he'll be back here in a few weeks. But again, just some of these things that this time of year, it's the right time to get them done so that they get put behind us. As much as we'd love to see him continue to evolve with the defense, but he certainly flashed early, but then. Had a little bit of a setback, and we wanted to make sure we took care of that so that we has a full summer.
We're going to do two more, Steven.
Ryan, obviously with some of the guys missing on the offensive line, it seems like Julian had to do a lot more problem solving this year. What have you thought about his development with his legs and just, being maybe more of a playmaker?
Well, it's hard when he's not live, and we weren't not going to make him live today. But, it's been an emphasis point, and you can see that, he's aware of that and looking to do some of that. And we did have a bad ball for a turnover, and so that could ruin your whole day. All it takes is one play. So, he knows how important that is, but it was good to see him move around out there and, make some, I don't know what would have happened on the first drive. That would have been a pretty big collision right there between he and Peyton, I think. But he was moving well, and he's moved well this spring. But certainly it's a lot different when you're live, and so that's going to be the challenge for him all summer, to continue to work on pocket presence and then making plays with his legs.
Yeah, he did get a touchdown running, though, so there's a whatever. But just what's your sense of the defense leaving here out of spring? Ryan, with a couple guys y'all brought in and stuff, you're talking about Earl Little Jr., but what's your sense of this group?
I think we're still a work in progress in all three phases. And this summer, we all need to really focus on getting better individually. And that's what comes after the spring, is identifying the things we did well that we have to get better at, but the things we need to get better at. And that starts individually. Each guy is in a race to get better. I just told the team that. Then also we need to build the chemistry in all three phases: offense, defense, special team. Then the last piece is everybody coming together as a team for one common purpose. So this is a big summer for us. I think, we're off to a good solid start, but with 50 new players, we got a lot of work to do. That's not, I don't think we're behind where I thought we'd be right now, but we all know that where we are with some of these new players and some of the guys we had to replace, it's going to be a process. And so we're a race against time.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Kenyatta, saw a lot of guys rotating in along the defensive line kind of throughout this spring, right, whether it be first team or second team. Just what do you think about the depth that you guys have at that unit, and some guys that have come along as the spring has rolled along?
I think it's pretty good. Since I've been here, probably since my freshman year, we didn't have that much depth over the years, and we finally got those pieces, and it's time to just put them all together.
We'll go to Austin on the right.
Kenyatta, where have you seen growth from Bo Atkinson when you've been out there with him? Feels like he's a lot more comfortable, maybe flexible than a year ago.
Yeah, he took his mobility and his flexibility serious over the offseason. And then just his, I believe, in my opinion, he was overthinking a lot when he got in last year, and I don't think he's overthinking now. I mean, he's playing much faster and more explosive, so that's one aspect of his game that he done grew from.
Yeah, Kenyatta, you just defensively overall, what's your sense of where this team is in terms of progress from the beginning of spring to the end? We got to talk to you at the beginning and stuff. Who did you see kind of really step up and take the bit, so to speak, as this went along?
The guys that came back, myself, Jermaine, Peyton, Jalen McClain, and some other guys, we took that leadership role. Some of the new transfers, I'll say, John, James, Q, even some of the freshmen like Kari Wilder and Emmanuel Ruffin and all those guys. I mean, they bought into the program. In the beginning, it was real rough. 51 new players coming to the program. It was real rough. Try to lead by example and teach those guys the standard of Ohio State football. But I mean, now in the spring ball, I think we're in a good place. Now, like I said before, just trying to put all those pieces together.
We'll finish with Dan on one.
For going against this offensive line all spring, obviously the depth's been tested there a bit this spring. Just where do you feel like those guys are at, and where can they take the next step going into the summer?
I mean, obviously we had our two starting tackles and a couple of other guys out, but I mean those guys got depth too. Carter Lowe, even the freshmen that's stepping into the second group. I mean, we're going against good and good. When you come to Ohio State, you're playing against the best. So it's good and good football each and every day, and I think those guys took a step forward after spring. So, thank you.
We'll start with Bill on the left. You weren't throwing to Chris Henry today, but you've obviously done it this spring. What are your impressions of his development as the spring has gone on?
Yeah, I think he's done a really good job. He's a big, tall, fast receiver, can make great plays, and I think you saw a couple today. He had some great plays today, and I think he's done a good job of developing in the program, and I think he's got a bright future.
Julian, we saw you had the touchdown run, so you scrambled a couple more times. How much has that been a focus for you this spring, and then in what ways can you practice that without being live? Because I've seen you and Peyton would have had a pretty nice hit there at the goal line.
Yeah, me and Peyton, we're good buddies, so we talk about that one for sure. But I think just kind of like what Coach said, having the pocket presence and having the internal clock in your head of when to escape and when do we need to extend plays with our legs. Hey, if it's man coverage here, nobody's else got the quarterback, so take off and go make the play. So I think just having that awareness and trying to keep developing that is something that I've worked on this spring.
If you were coming to the goal line there and he wasn't slowing up and you had to put your shoulder down, how does that hit end up? What happens on that play?
100% I'm scoring. As a quarterback, you have to. There's going to be moments where you have to drop your shoulder and go and go get the first down, go get a touchdown for the team, and that's part of being a leader, and that's part of being a tough leader.
Come out of the spring, what directive do you think you'll get from, whether it's Ryan or Billy Pessler, what kind of directives do you think you'll get to where you have to take a next step before you get into fall camp?
What do you mean by that question?
Just like the things that you have to get better.
The things I can improve on. I think I think I can improve on a lot. I think pocket presence and kind of that still working that ability to escape and just extending plays and giving us more chances on offense, and then I think still working on that leadership role too. I think I can grow there as well. I think with the leadership, there's no such thing as a vocal leader, so you really have to, take control of those guys, and it starts with the connection. You have to be, a great teammate, and you have to get to know these guys, and so I think it's been fun this spring to get to know those guys.
Yeah, Julian, obviously you're starting now, but you've been a backup. What did you think of Tavian's performance, and how do you mentor him, and how do you get inside that head of his?
Yeah, I think the quarterback room we have right now, it's gotten very close over the past few months, and it's been fun to see. And I've been with Tavian. He was here last year as well, so we have a really good connection. And we watch film together. We do hang out outside, so it's been great. I think he's done a good job this spring of developing and taking that next step.
All right, that wraps up. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There he is, the Ohio State quarterback, Julian Sayin. We also had the opportunity to hear from Ryan Day and defensive lineman Kenyatta Jackson. All of this following the Ohio State spring game. The defense got things done in this one. The defense comes out the winner 35-26, and we're going to tell you all about it. I'm Dylan Tyrer. With me is Michael Bennett, a great Buckeye, and we have Nate Puderbaugh behind the scenes. So we're going to take a quick break and really get this thing going on 97.1 The Fan.
Whatever you're doing right now, just know that Bo Bishop is enjoying a sip of bourbon, even if this promo is playing in the morning. No judgment.
Oh, sweet morning drinking.
The Fan.
Hey there, Jane Lynch here. You want to hear something funny? Too bad. You want to hear something uplifting that will inspire you? Good. Because today, I want to talk to you about Direct Relief, a humanitarian organization that does seriously good work when it counts. Fires, hurricanes, earthquakes. When disaster strikes, Direct Relief immediately shows up with medicines, medical supplies, and everything doctors and nurses need to save lives. Let's ship her out! Every day across the United States and around the world, they're making an enormous difference. If someone needs help, Direct Relief helps. No politics, no red tape. Hey, what you doing over there?
Oh, I'm packing insulin for kids with diabetes.
See, every box here is literally a lifeline for someone in critical need. So check them out at directrelief.org. You might just bring a smile to someone's face.
Miss Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow. Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
Some journeys start small, with small pause and big purpose.
Look how little fly, you sweet girl.
Every great partnership begins with the first step.
Bella, let's go.
Guiding them through the world so one day they can guide someone through life. With shared experience, confidence grows, and the path becomes clear. It takes time, patience, and love. But the reward lasts a lifetime.
Hey, good girl, Bella.
You don't just raise a puppy. You raise a future. Become a Dogs Inc. puppy raiser. Give a dog a purpose. Give someone hope.
Learn more at dogsinc.org.
Matty Ice has a large tattoo on his calf of LeBron eating a lion. I have nothing else to say. Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan. Sports talk, weekend style. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
Rain, go away. Man, oh man. Stinky out there in Columbus, Ohio. But the good news is we have plenty to talk about. It's a great sports weekend. Of course, the Ohio State spring game is over with. We'll have all sorts of breakdown on the spring game as we continue with Fan Sports Saturday. Stephen Means of Cleveland.com, he covers the Buckeyes, will be joining us at 3:30 to talk about takeaways from the game. Michael and I will be discussing the NFL draft, which is coming up, I guess, later this week, we can call it, or next week.
Always an exciting time.
Yeah, I don't know if you're one of those people this week or next week, next Thursday. Like, is that next or is that this week? I think we can call it this Thursday, right?
Because it's the next Thursday, right?
Right?
I'll go with you. It's this Thursday.
Anyway, we're talking about NFL draft a little bit later on, plus some big hockey news here in Columbus. Rick Bowness, Blue Jackets head coach, is coming back for another season. The team reporter, Jeff Svoboda, will be joining us around 4 o'clock, and then we'll wrap up with some NBA and NHL playoff talk. Both those leagues in the thick of the playoffs right now. We've actually got the Cavs playing right now. They're going to halftime on top of the Raptors, 61-54. And then we have the Stanley Cup playoffs opening up at 3 o'clock. So it is a packed Fan Sports Saturday, and we can't wait to get it going with you. Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett, Nate Puderbaugh. And Michael, why don't we talk about this spring game? Like, you played at Ohio State. You played in spring games.
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to get out of a spring game?
From a team perspective, you just want to see guys, try to get them around the crowd, get that feeling of being in the stadium, feeling the roar of the crowd, all of that kind of stuff, especially for the new players who haven't had a lot of game time. They need to kind of feel a little bit of added pressure with the eyes on them. And then you want to see, once again, a lot of this is for the young players and the new players. You want to see what they do in as close to a simulated game format as possible. You know, obviously, it's not live action against quarterbacks. You're not trying to crush the opposing team because it's still your team, but you still want to see the competition. You want to see what guys can do when there's a little bit of extra pressure that practice just can't quite put on them. And then you want to see if somebody's going to stand out, if somebody's performance, a receiver, a running back, maybe a defensive lineman that you had questions about. What are they going to do when they get can string together a couple extra reps?
And something that Ryan Day talked about in his press conference was maybe the defense is a little bit ahead of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
What does that say to you?
Nothing. We're still so far outside of the season that this is a glorified practice for the fans and then for development of the young guys. But there's so much time. A guy's body can completely change between now and September. So I think it's exciting to see that the defense is doing well. I think it's a lot easier to coordinate a defense at this stage in the year than it is to coordinate an offense. That being said, the defense has a lot of people that they are trying to replace, a lot of guys that there are question marks around, but I wouldn't read into anything too much.
I want to talk about that a little bit later on because there are so many changes on this Ohio State defense, and there are a number of transfers coming in that we had the opportunity to see for the first time today. There are other guys that are going to get their first opportunity to start for Ohio State that have been backups for a while. But you said something there that piqued my interest. Easier to coordinate a defense at this time of year than an offense. Why is that?
Now, sometimes defenses are pretty complicated, so trying to get guys to remember plays and all of that. But you can put in a pretty simple defense, run base defenses. They're not about to put up on a televised game their most complicated blitzes and coverages and all of on their schemes. So they'll probably run in a pretty base defense. And then most of defense, especially in the front seven, is see ball, get ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just say, stay in your gap, fill your gap, and go get the ball. And so it's a little bit easier than having to coordinate all of your offensive linemen working in tandem, plus all of your receivers running the right routes, or your running backs having good chemistry with the offensive line, and your quarterbacks having good chemistry with new receivers, understanding, you know, maybe where the offensive line is where the pocket's going to form, how long the pocket's going to last, all of those things, while a defensive line or a defense in general is hiding their more complicated components so they don't give them away for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to just pin your ears back and go get them.
So I'm curious about this as well. And, I know you played on the defensive side of the ball, so it's a little bit different of a perspective. But from the offense, I think everybody cares about the Ohio State offense, right? What are the running backs going to look like? Who's going to be wide receiver alongside Jeremiah Smith? Will Julian Sayin take another step this season? And we're going to talk about all of that as this show goes on. But what is Ryan Day looking for from the offense in a spring game? Like when you're playing, what was Urban Meyer looking for from the offense in a spring game?
I would say they've got their eyes on specific players. Mm-hmm. He wants to see composure of young quarterbacks in the pocket. He wants to see, can they go through their progressions? Can they put the ball where it needs to be? They're going to be looking at specific routes for receivers. Are they running crisp routes, or are they being lazy? Are they quitting on plays? Running backs, same thing. Are they making their reads? Are they finding the hole? Offensive line, how long are they holding their blocks? Are they working as a unit? All of those kinds of things. And then as an offense in general, how many mistakes are we making? What is our effort looking like? This is a spring game, but it's a practice too, so I don't want to see you guys taking plays off. I want to see you take it seriously, simulate a game, be in your element, and you're trying to get a feel for what the personality of the offense is going to be, how many mistakes guys are still making, and then you're measuring their progression from last season or just from what you've seen in drills in the weight room.
And talking about that progression, I know everybody, and I mean everybody, every Ohio State fan out there, Ryan Day, Julian Sayin himself probably wants to see him tuck and run a little bit more this season. And we had the opportunity to see that on the opening drive with him running in a touchdown.
We did.
I think that's a positive sign, right? Just at least getting that feel, knowing when to do it.
Yeah, I loved hearing him in his press conference say he would drop his shoulder and run anybody over. That's fun. And I believe in Julian. He's never struck me as a frightened quarterback. And there are plenty of them out there, but I never got that impression from him. But there are going to be those times in the season where he's not going to be able to pick a defense apart. He's going to have to go get it with his legs. So knowing that he's willing to put his shoulder down and go get the 6 points that we need is promising. But all that being said, it's a lot easier to do that when nobody's allowed to touch you on the field.
I think he looks a little bit more stout, down through the lower body. You and I were talking about it before we hopped on. That core and the legs are so important for a quarterback. And I think he looks a little bit bigger there.
People, we don't talk about it as much, but the amount of growth that guys experience between 18 and 19, 19 and 20, when they're in that weight room with Coach Mick, there's so much growth that can happen just in a 3 to 4 month period of that winter off season. It's always surprising to see these young guys who, you don't expect them to come out looking like a different person, but they really can. And a lot of the guys, I'm sure Coach Mick still does it, but he'll show you take pictures.
Yeah.
Every year you take pictures. And seeing that progression from year to year is always amazing. And I don't see why Julian Sayin would be any different.
I remember that. And I don't know if they still post those pictures, but when I was at Ohio State, they were posting those pictures where you would see the before and after of an off season. Yeah. And it was insane for some of these guys.
That's Joshua Perry.
Yeah. Yeah. They're these, when you're a stud high school football player, when you're a senior, you're a pretty big kid for being in high school and you're built and everything. But the transformation that you go through when you get in that weight room at the collegiate level is absolutely insane.
Yeah, you can put on, I don't want to throw out something crazy here, but you can put on a good 15 pounds of muscle, 20 pounds of muscle just in that winter period alone, winter and spring. And that's a lot. That's a lot of strength that comes along with 15 pounds of muscle. So it's exciting to see that Julian Sayin's been in the weight room. He's taking it seriously. He seems like he feels more comfortable, which is huge for a quarterback. So I think he's got a good season ahead of him.
And I think something else that he talked about in his presser that we had the opportunity to hear a little bit of was just taking that next step as a leader as well. He's a redshirt freshman last year. He's a transfer. He's coming in somewhere where it's okay, I know there were great leaders on this team last year with Will Howard, who was more of a raw, in-your-face, emotional quarterback. And Julian's not that guy, right? He's California cool. He's calm, cool, collected in the pocket. He the way he plays is kind of his personality, right? Yeah. It's reflective of who he is as a person, but he's trying to take that next step. And you heard about it last year. Ryan Day would talk about it that, hey, he's a little bit more of a leader than you might realize or you might recognize or it might look like. What can that do for Ohio State where that quarterback is that guy?
It's huge. You always want your quarterback to be that guy. And what we saw from Julian, like you said, he was pretty quiet, pretty reserved last year. But I think that it's a very natural progression for a young guy who has not proven to his team yet that they can look to him to lead them, that they can trust him to do his job and be on his assignment and potentially go win games for them rather than just not lose games. And so I think that the team, along with the fans, saw from Julian last year, he's got a lot of promise.
Mm-hmm.
He I thought was a very, very good young quarterback for Ohio State last year. And I know that he's probably feeling that confidence. I'm sure that his team, his teammates and the coaches are boosting that confidence. And so I think there's a good chance he won't be as reserved this year. Probably still calm, cool, and collected, but he might come into himself a little bit more and be willing to speak up.
And I'm with you there. Like, I think this is a huge year for Julian Sayin to do what you talked about there, that the players trust him to win games now. Like last year, he could do that, but Ohio State needed him to be more of a game manager than anything last season.
Especially with that defense.
Right. And you think about some of the games that they played on the road, like that first big road game they played at Washington. That was a big test for Julian Sayin. At that point, it was his first time going into a hostile environment. You know, I know he played in that big game to open the season against Texas, and they really had the reins on him in that game. But even so, I thought he looked good against Texas. But you saw that, and you saw the reins start to come off as last year went on. And, you know, I know it didn't necessarily go the best when it got to the college football playoff. You maybe wanted to see a little bit more. But I think this year is huge for Julian Sayin in taking that next step. And, you know, I have the utmost belief in the guy. Like, I think it's going to look really good this year for Julian Sayin. And, you know, we'll talk about some of the other weapons that will help him out later in the program. But for me, I think this is the year where he has that next step and that progression where he's not just the game manager. He is going to be winning games for Ohio State.
100%. And I think it's a testament to Coach Day. You know, I have nothing but good stuff to say about Coach Day, but getting to watch him develop these young quarterbacks, and like you mentioned it, he puts the reins on them early, and he doesn't let them open it up too soon. A lot of that is to protect their confidence, let the rest of the team really pick up the slack as they develop, not only as a player and a quarterback, but as a leader and as a reliable component of the offense. And I think Julian has completed that part of his progression. And now he's going to be able to open it up a little bit more. He's going to have a little bit more freedom. And, you know, we didn't get to see a lot of him today, but I have I've high hopes for Julian Sayin, more than just his development as a quarterback, but the piece of him that is going to be a leader for this offense.
I think we're definitely going to see more freedom on the Ohio State offense. I am curious, though, what that defense is going to look like, because last year they had so much freedom. They had so much experience, so much athleticism. You think about what Ohio State had at linebacker, you know, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, so much to go to on that defense. Of course, Caleb Downs at that safety spot. He was a coach out there on the field. So much that you could rely on, so many unknowns on the Ohio State defense this year. So when we come back, we're talking about those question marks on Matt Patricia's defense. It's Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
Aaron, I've invented something really important.
Great. Tell me what it is.
You know how water heaters never give the homeowner any sort of signal that they are about to quit working?
Jerry, did you invent a way to solve that problem?
I sure did. I call it the Eco First Responder System.
I like it. How does it work?
Well, when your hot water heater quits working and you have no hot water, just call Eco before 5 p.m. and we guarantee to install your new hot water heater that same day, even if you decide to go tankless.
Jerry, that's been our policy for a long time. What exactly did you invent?
I invented the name, Aaron. The name. The Eco First Responder System. I thought you said you liked it.
Sure, Jerry. It's a great name for a really strong guarantee.
When your water heater quits working, just call Eco before 5 p.m. and we guarantee to install your new hot water heater that same day, even if you decide to go tankless.
You're a great guy, Jerry. I'm really glad you work here.
Get Eco.
ECO.
GetEco.com.
What can ADP do for small business? We help answer the business questions, like how do you track employee time? How do you do payroll taxes? Or what does compliance even mean? So small businesses can focus on bigger questions. Now florists can ask, can we invent another holiday to sell bouquets? Pizza shops can ask, how do we stuff a calzone into a pizza crust? And pool cleaners can ask, what is that thing in the filter? These are the questions you can focus on when ADP takes care of the business of your small business. ADP for small business.
When it comes to your roofing, siding, or gutter needs, call Newman Roofing. 614-NEW-ROOF. NewmanRoofing.com.
Matty Ice is currently bathing himself in creamy jalapeno dip. And I've officially run out of ways to tease this show. Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays at noon.
The Fan. We firmly believe it's appropriate to tailgate before a youth soccer game. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett, Nate Puterbaugh back with you on a rainy Saturday following the Ohio State spring game. Lots of Buckeye football talk on the program today. Then in the final hour, we're going to get into the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. We got a playoff Saturday, so plenty to get to. And, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing right now. They lead 61-54 over the Toronto Raptors at halftime. So this Ohio State defense, Michael, lots of question marks for Matt Patricia this season. No more Caleb Downs. No more Arvell Reese. No more Sonny Styles. You've been in this position before, right? Mm-hmm. Like an ever-changing defense. What's it going to look like this year? How do you kind of get back to that, like, that baseline? You know what I mean? Like, you talked about it in our opening segment. The base defense, easy defense. Today it's easy for the Ohio State defense. When do you find that level where it's like, okay, this is what we got, and now we go from here?
I think that process stays, like, it keeps going all the way through camp, summer camp. They're still figuring stuff out. They're still figuring where the new pieces work in, who the new leaders of the defense are, because we didn't just lose a whole bunch of talent. We lost leadership. We lost, Caden McDonald is one of my favorite defensive linemen to play at Ohio State. We lost Caleb Downs, Caden Curry, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles. Like, we can go through the list, and it's not – the leadership is almost harder to replace than the actual athleticism. You've got to have guys when guys get tired or they face adversity, maybe you let up 2 quick touchdowns, who will be able to step in and get everybody's head right, back on their shoulders, and be able to settle in for the long fight. And that's what they're trying to figure out. And they do that in workouts. They do that in conditioning. They do that in practices. The spring game is one of those situations where they want to see defensive composure, especially from the young guys, because they need to see who the next level of defense or leadership is going to be. But this situation is just, they're going to keep figuring it out over the next couple months leading into the season.
Yeah, you look at what Ohio State has coming back. You do have, some of these transfers do have good experience. Like, you look on that D-line, John Walker coming in from UCF. He's a junior. James Smith coming in from Alabama. He is a senior. So you do have some experience in these guys coming back. The defensive backfield, Earl Little Jr. coming in. He's a redshirt senior. Terry Moore, a redshirt senior. I like that. You have Christian Allegro coming in from Wisconsin. He's a senior.
Yep.
That's where the bulk of your experience lies, but it's all at other places. Like, does that concern you at all, in that you're coming to Ohio State? It's a new culture. It's a different culture. The bulk of the experience on this defense, all of their years come at other programs.
I wouldn't say that it concerns me. This is a new college landscape. It's a very interesting situation that we find ourselves in. I think it increases competition, especially when you bring in transfers who have a lot of experience, have had success at their respective schools, have different perspectives on coaching, different perspectives on what it means to become a professional. I think that it enriches the program, and it's not a guaranteed starting spot. It's not like in the NFL when you trade for somebody who, was a Pro Bowler last year and they are going to start whether they've been doing a good job or not. These guys are coming in to compete. And, I've got my eyes on the interior D-line. I watched some of the film for John Walker and James Smith. I'm excited to see what they can do. But I also want to see if Edric Houston and Will Smith have been putting the time in the weight room and putting the time on the field to improve on what they started doing last year. And then at the other positions, it's simply just, we want to get as many guys in situations to compete and make each other improve as we possibly can.
Yeah, so you're talking John Walker and James Smith in the middle there. Christian Allegro at linebacker. I know they're also excited about some guys on the outside. Cam Calhoun, a transfer from Alabama. Dominic Kelly played today, a transfer from Georgia. I heard his name a lot during the broadcast. Then at safety, you have Earl Little from Florida State and Terry Moore from Duke. So that's a lot of talent coming in. It's a lot of experience coming in, like we talked about. Those guys at corner, they intrigue me. You've got an Alabama transfer, a Georgia transfer, obviously tremendous pedigree. What do you think Ohio State looks like on the outside? Because you obviously have Devin Sanchez coming back. I think people are very, very excited about Sanchez. And then you have Jermaine Matthews at the other cornerback position, who I think people really liked last season. I think that's an exciting room.
I agree. There's still question marks around that room, but it's a room that has, like I mentioned, a lot of opportunities to compete with each other for starting spots. You got guys coming from different programs, like you said, great pedigree programs that they think that they are going to deserve to start. And then you got guys who are, blue blood Ohio State guys who have been working their way up the ranks who think it's their time to shine at Ohio State. So I think we've got depth, which is a beautiful thing, and depth creates competition, which creates improvement. But either way, I think that secondary is going to be strong. I'm going to say that hopefully.
And you're right. There's also no way to replace a Caleb Downs, a guy that was maybe the best player in college football last year. But you do have lots of experience between Earl Little and Terry Moore. Transfers coming in. They're guys that have played a lot of football. I don't think there's ever replacing a guy like Caleb Downs, but I think the Buckeyes did a pretty good job in the transfer portal to at least fill the gaps that they have.
And back in the day, a lot of times you'd be replacing a Caleb Downs with a untested freshman.
Right.
Or a sophomore who hadn't really shown what they could do yet. And so that was a little bit more concerning. But now you're replacing, all-star players with maybe guys who aren't quite at that level, but have shown that they can be productive, shown that they can do their job. They actually have college film on them. So you know that you're going to have good product on the field. It's whether or not they can take that next step to become elite.
And I think that's important to you too, right? Those proven entities. That was something else we were talking about before we hopped on, that you like to know what you're getting.
I am, throughout the time I've had on this radio station, I have always been somebody when somebody says, oh, did you see this recruit? I don't care. I don't care what they did in high school. I don't care what they did when they were 17 years old. Stepping foot on a college football field and playing against other elite college athletes is a whole different world. So, maybe after the first game we can talk about him a little bit, but I'm not interested in projections of an untested freshman. But when you've got a guy who has 3 years of college film out there, and I can look on the film and say, okay, he does this right, he doesn't do this right, that means he's got stuff that the coaches at Ohio State can work on and point out to him. And so I trust our coaches at Ohio State. I think that's one of our biggest benefits is Ryan Day can put together an elite coaching staff. And then you can see what kind of product this guy has been able to produce over the last 3 years. Has he gotten better from his freshman year to his junior year? Because that will also dictate his habits of what he's been doing and has he been constantly improving. So this is a very interesting college football landscape, but it does make it a little bit easier on coaches when you don't have to completely rely on recruiting the perfect guy. You can go out and shop around and see who's out there who maybe didn't get the chance at their school, or maybe was just looking for a little bit more money somewhere else, and put together a really solid team.
Well, in talking about Ryan Day's ability to put together an elite coaching staff, you've got NFL coordinators. Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator. And don't forget, people, like, there were question marks about the Ohio State defense going into last season. We had no idea what Matt Patricia was going to make it look like. Jim Knowles leaving, people were like, I don't know if this defense is going to be quite as good. Matt Patricia, I think, instilled a lot of confidence in Ohio State football fans, what that Ohio State defense was able to do last season. Of course, the personnel was terrific, and it's different now. But I think there's just a level of comfortability and certainty, and it may be stupid to think that, but there's a level of certainty with Matt Patricia that at least the defense is going to be creative, and if it doesn't look right to start, I think people have the confidence in Patricia that he can make those changes on the fly, those adjustments to make it good.
100%. And I don't want to take anything away from players, but when you see players truly shining, you can attribute some of that to coaching and putting them in the right places, not overwhelming them with too many calls or too complicated of schemes, and letting them go just be athletes and do what they do. And I think the only question I have with Matt Patricia this year is, can he do it again?
Mm-hmm.
I've said it 1,000 times. I think that was the best Ohio State defense I've seen. And that is a high bar to set in your first season. Yeah. Like you said, the personnel was incredible, but we'll see what he can do with this personnel, because great coaches will adjust their scheme to who they have. And that's what he's evaluating right now is, who do I have? Where's the strength on the defense where we can funnel the ball there, or we can, help other guys out who may not quite be the game changers that we would like to have, but they're still good role players who can do their job.
It might be way too early for this question, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot with it, but where do you think that's going to be? Like, if you think about the personnel on this Ohio State defense and what it looks like right now, like, where do you see the strength of the Buckeye defense being, where he can kind of rely on that?
I think that's a great question. I think we've lost a lot of players at every level of the Buckeye defense. I think that the defensive ends have potential to really be game changers. All eyes are going to be on Kenyatta Jackson. That interior D-line has some questions. I don't think the interior D-line has the potential to be bad, but it's whether they can be, forcing, getting a good pass rush from the interior, flushing quarterbacks out, shutting down the run, because anytime you want to go deep in the playoffs, you cannot have the other team running the ball on you. So I think I would lean on the defensive ends and then hope that the rush and cover works together.
And I think for me, I just think the experience you have in the defensive backfield that we talked about with the transfers coming in, I feel like there's going to be that baseline there where you know what you're getting from those guys. And if a player like Devin Sanchez can be that next Ohio State cornerback, that next great one, I think it's going to make a world of difference for this defense. Like, if they have a true ball hawk, a true playmaker in that defensive backfield, you're going to be rock steady with those safeties, with all the experience they have. Obviously, Jermaine Matthews is a proven entity in the Ohio State defensive backfield. Sanchez got his feet wet last year. He dipped his toes in, and if he is able to be that next guy, that next man up, that first round corner for Ohio State, that could mean a lot to the defense this season.
Like you said, I think we're going to have consistency at the least in the defensive backfield. It's just whether you can find another playmaker in this group of guys that we have. And I have no question that there will be somebody who steps up and has themselves an incredible year. It's just, who will that be?
All right, let's take a deeper dive into this Ohio State schedule. The over-under, the win total for Ohio State this year is set at 9.5.
Insulting.
Yeah, let's talk about that coming up next. Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
Whatever you're doing right now, just know that Bo Bishop is enjoying a sip of bourbon. Even if this promo is playing in the morning, no judgment.
Ah, sweet morning drinking.
The Fan.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. Mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Hey, it's AR here for Germain Honda of Dublin. If you've been thinking about upgrading your ride, now's the time. It's the Honda Spring event at Germain Honda of Dublin, and they've got seriously low lease rates on the Honda HR-V and Civic for well-qualified buyers. I'm talking reliable, fuel-efficient, and fun to drive without stretching your budget. Stop by Germain Honda of Dublin on Sawmill Road, just south of 270. Check them out online at GermainHondaofDublin.com. The Honda Spring event won't last forever.
I love Right Pack Credit Union because they're solution driven.
I feel valued as a member.
They're focused on the latest technology and the personal connections.
Experience benefits that go beyond banking with Right Pack Credit Union. Just ask our actual members.
I definitely recommend Right Pack to all my family and friends as a credit union of choice.
Visit one of our Columbus area Right Pack Credit Union member centers near you. Based on individual members' experiences, results may vary.
Why choose between getting things done and doing things with the ones you love? With Kroger same-day pickup and delivery, it's easy to shop the same great prices and quality you'd find in store. We'll bring your groceries right to you in our refrigerated trucks, so you can spend time on what matters most. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Save $20 on your first Kroger pickup or delivery order of $75 or more. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
I started my first business when I was 12, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I learned if you do the job right, people trust you and customers care that you show up and do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Don's Garage Doors. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. When you care about the people you serve, you work harder and it shows. Call Don's Garage Doors today or schedule online at donsgaragedoors.com.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here from my friends at High Bank Distillery Co. It's well known High Bank is my go-to when I want an award-winning whiskey, but did you also know that they make the best vodka in America? They have 3 incredible spots here in Central Ohio where the food is just as good as what's in the glass. They've got something for everyone, and get this, kids eat half off every Monday, so whether you're sipping on the best vodka in America or simply grabbing a meal with family and friends, High Bank delivers every time. Find a location and a menu at highbankco.com. Dine, drink, distill at High Bank.
Common Man and Timmy, they're good, clean boys. If you enjoy a radio show hosted by immature men with slightly above average sports knowledge, they've got you covered.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Need a roof you can count on? Ramos Roofing has protected homes and businesses throughout Ohio for almost 20 years. Whether it's a leaky roof, storm damage, new siding, or new gutters to protect your foundation, Ramos Roofing delivers quality materials, professional installation, and honest service every time. Get your free roof or exterior assessment today and ask about Ramos Roofing's no-interest financing options. Call 614-761-7663 or visit online at ramosroofingohio.com.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, I think I saw a fox on my way in.
Oh, that was the Carfax Carfox. He was congratulating us on our Carfax Top-Rated Service Center Award.
I have always rated Tire Discounters at the very top.
Oh, thanks. So does Carfax. And not just for tires, but for all our services, too.
Alignment, brakes, shocks, and struts, and more.
Yes, sir.
But, Mike, do you think people believe Carfax over me?
Well, you are the Phantom tire buyer.
Exactly.
Coffee, sandwich, hash browns. Tired of the same breakfast routine? Time to refresh your morning ritual with a $6 Tim's Trio from Tim Hortons. It starts with a premium blend of freshly brewed coffee, a hot, savory breakfast sandwich made with freshly cracked eggs, and for a tasty twist, a daily baked donut to sweeten the deal. Ask for the $6 Tim's Trio. Your morning ritual refreshed. Only at your neighborhood Tim Hortons. At participating U.S. restaurants, must ask for offer. Medium coffee only. Terms apply.
Common Man here for Weed Man. I talk to you about Weed Man every year. Why? Simple. Number 1, I use it. Number 2, it works. You want to get those lawn roots thick, baby, because when that happens, they resist weeds, disease, and insects, and they're using top-of-the-line stuff. We're talking golf course quality. Weed Man is locally owned and operated by Corbin and Audrey. They will take care of you. Proudly serving Central Ohio and our Dayton friends. Call your local office, 614-733-3747, weedman.com.
The Fan Poll is sponsored by JT's Pizza and Pub, home of award-winning pizza and 32-ounce Yingling drafts for only $4. Garnish your Bloody Mary with sports talk. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
Man, this Ohio State football win total this year is crazy to me. 9.5. They've got it set at over under 9.5 wins for the Ohio State Buckeyes for the 2026 season. Michael, I look at the schedule for Ohio State, and I just don't see 3 losses out there.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because they think we've lost so many guys that they're questioning the rebuild, or if they see big names like Texas and Oregon, and I guess Indiana's a big name now, and then obviously the rivalry game with that team up north at the end of the season. But I don't have many concerns with too many people on this schedule. I don't think it's the weakest schedule in the world, but I don't see us losing to Texas week 2, even at Texas.
No, it's not a weak schedule by any means. In fact, I think this is a pretty tough schedule for Ohio State. I don't see it happening. Week 1 against Ball State. That's going to be a walk in the park, right? Then you go to Texas, week 2, September 12th. That'll be a tough game in what should be a hostile environment. Maybe it's a faux hostile environment because I've heard some complaints from Texas fans that it's not a real college football atmosphere, what you're looking for. In the way I understand it, the way you've been talking, you are not an Arch Manning believer.
I was going to say, hot take, I don't know that it'll be that close.
Oh.
I don't think Arch Manning, over the course of last year, developed much at all. I think Julian Sain developed a significant amount. I think a lot of it will depend on our defense, and if we can stop the run. Texas always has a solid run game. They've got athletes that can match Ohio State. But I think that our offense is going to be much higher powered than it was last year. I can't say the same about Texas's offense. We'll have a game plan to bottle up Arch Manning so he can't run all over us. He is not going to beat us with his arm. Unless he has just had astronomical progression over this last, off season, he's just not been impressive to me.
Nate, what are you thinking back there? Because I know you're like the quarterback expert. You were talking about all these quarterbacks and doubting all these quarterbacks a year ago. I remember last summer we would be in here and you'd be like, I don't know about Drew Aller. I don't know about Mark.
And I was right.
Exactly. So that's why I'm throwing it to you here. Like, are you a Texas believer this coming season? They were so hyped going into last year.
I'm not a Sark believer is what it all comes down to. Like, no matter what happens, Arch, I assume, will not be as terrible as he was last year. I just assume he has to be better than he was for the majority of the season. I just don't when it comes down to it in a big game when there's really pressure on it. I don't think Sark will game plan them into a victory.
Yeah. So what do you think? If you had to say yes or no to a week 2 win against Texas?
Oh yes, absolutely.
So you like that?
Do you think it'll be close? Like go down to
2
the wire
touchdowns?
last drive? Yeah, okay.
Oh,
I'll give that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
So Ohio State comes home after that one to play Kent State, another easy one. They have Illinois at home after that. I don't think we're necessarily worried about that.
No.
They go to Iowa City on October 3rd. Always a dangerous place to go. If that's a night game, I'll be a little bit worried.
I don't think that'll be a loss, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a tough game.
Yeah.
Iowa's
That's
a tough
got like
team to play.
17-13 written all over it.
Yeah, it'll probably be a gross game to watch. It's
just like one of those where Julian can't complete a pass for voodoo reasons.
Yeah. Something's going to be going wrong. It's just playing at Iowa's always tough. Iowa's never a flashy team, but they're always respectable, always gritty. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a close game.
You come back and you play Maryland at home. I think you always like that game. Indiana at Indiana on October 17th.
Question mark.
Huge one.
Yeah.
Like, what are the Hoosiers going to look like? Because I don't want to doubt Kurt Cignetti at all because the guy just seems to reload through the transfer portal every year. It's what he's good at, and he seems to find a quarterback every year. But coming off the national title, to have so many unknowns, I don't know if anybody knows what Indiana is going to look like this year.
They could be a 6-6 team, or they could be a favorite for the national title again by the end of the season.
And just the certainty at the quarterback position for Ohio State is why I would take the Buckeyes if you asked me right now.
But the uncertainty on the defensive side of the ball could leave something open for Indiana. I don't know. That one, I could say, it's insane.
I don't think we can say anything about the game until week 3 or 4.
I agree.
You need to see the Hoosiers a little bit.
We're talking about Indiana. It still blows my mind. And they've been now, this is going on year 3 of them being a legitimate contender. But yeah, that one is just, I have no idea what to predict for that one.
And speaking of legitimate contenders, is this the year for USC?
No.
Well, Ohio State plays against USC at the Coliseum, actually, on Halloween. So
that could be another tough one, though. West Coast, traveling to the West Coast is not easy.
You do have a tough 3-game stretch here, assuming Indiana is going to be good. You go Indiana, then you're going to have a bye, then you play at USC, and then you come home to take on Oregon November 7th. An Oregon team that I think could be pretty good this year. You've got Dante Moore coming back at the quarterback position. But again, you're not an Oregon believer.
No, I'll scream it from the rooftops year in and year out. I think Oregon are frauds. I think that they're talented. I think that they're going to beat weaker teams. I don't think they can keep up with the top 5 teams in the nation year in and year out.
It's a fascinating one. Nate, do you have an opinion on Oregon this year? Because, contrary to what Michael says, I think Oregon's going to be good this year.
They're going to be good.
I think they'll be Oregon. They'll be a 10, 11 win team.
Mm-hmm.
Dante Moore will put up numbers somewhere, and then they'll, get bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they'll have some cool jerseys and cool cleats, and then they'll go up against a team with a legitimate O-line and D-line, and they won't be able to keep up.
Another fascinating one for me is Northwestern. Ohio State's going to play them at home on November 14th. Chip Kelly there now. So what's Northwestern's offense going to look like? It could be maybe a little bit fun.
We were talking about this, I think, in Tressel era and even Urban era, that would be a concerning game. Northwestern and and Nebraska, just because it's the sandwich between Oregon and Michigan, where you might just take your foot off the gas a little bit. Guys are a little banged up. You don't know what's going on. I don't think Northwestern has the firepower to keep up with Ohio State. I think that with Chip Kelly at coach, they could be a really annoying game. So
it's going to be like one of those Maryland games where they just throw out like every play in the world, and it's just like, go away, please.
There's like 56, 55 games at Maryland. Yeah.
The fans are going to be cold in the stands, just being like, let's just put these guys away so we can go home. But I think that might be a closer game than we expect. But I cannot see Northwestern taking a W.
Yep, that Nebraska game at Nebraska could be a little bit trappy for Ohio State.
But Coach Day does not drop those games.
Yeah.
He is, you can say what you want about him in big games, but he does not drop the smaller games. And that was always a risk, an away game against Nebraska, who I would say isn't that good of a team, but they always have some athletes. And then you go into a rivalry game. I think it could be a trap, but in Coach Day era, I don't think that we're dropping that game.
Yeah, who knows what that game against Michigan's going to look like here in Columbus on November 28th, coming out of Thanksgiving. I think it certainly helps that it's here at home, right? That always helps for a rivalry game, but I
just watched the entire first half of the Michigan spring game here in the studio. Bryce Underwood did not complete a forward pass in the entire first quarter, and he took every snap.
So right now you're feeling good about
Pretty
that.
good right now.
If we played the game today, we'd be all right.
Yeah, so over under 9.5 wins. Like, I think it's a handshake 10 wins for Ohio State. A handshake 10 wins for Ohio State. Maybe I'm an idiot, and maybe that's a sucker bet, a sucker pick, but I look at this schedule and I have a hard time finding 3 losses. It's the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it's Julian Sayin, who I think is going to win the Heisman Trophy this season.
Bold claim.
I'll tell you why coming up next. Fan Sports Saturday right here on The Fan.
Question from a listener: do you dopes ever get tired of talking about Ohio State? No. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
The Fan.
At Great Lakes Hyundai, the savings are so good.
Spring into savings at Great Lakes Hyundai. Right now, drive your new Hyundai with payments as low as $94 per month for a 2-year lease. Get spring lease savings on every model from Elantra to Palisade. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with owner assurance and America's best warranty. A 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain coverage. Dublin or Columbus or glakeshyundai.com. With approved credit. Payment on 26 Elantra SC, $39.95 down plus tax title first month payment. 7,500 miles per year ends $430.
Get everything for your automotive needs at Menards. We have what you need to keep your vehicle looking like new. Give your car's headlights the care they need with a Turtle Wax Headlight Lens Restoration Kit. It removes surface discoloration and helps protect against future yellowing. Save big on all Turtle Wax products. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Grab me a new cross-match bingo from the Ohio Lottery.
Sure thing. You said match bingo cross?
No, the newest $10 scratch-off with prizes up to $500,000.
Yeah.
The ticket's so big, it's only sold at retail counters. The one with over $15 million in prizes? Cross-match bingo.
One cross bingo match coming up.
However you say it, cross-match bingo combines cash word, bingo, and match games all into one for even more fun. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
It always seems to happen at the worst time. You're finally in bed after a long, hard day, and then you hear it. You sit up, heart sinking. Is that coming from the ceiling? All of a sudden, it's a middle of the night flashlight hunt to find the leak. But don't worry, Newman Roofing has you covered, literally. With more than 3 decades in the business, we've seen just about everything a storm can throw at a roof. Our teams know how to spot the problem, explain your options, and fix it right the first time, with craftsmanship and care you can feel good about. We're not just here for a quick patch job, and we never will be. We're here to make sure your home stays protected season after season. So when it comes to your roofing, siding, or gutter needs, choose the company you can trust, Newman Roofing. Call Newman Roofing today at 614-NEW-ROOF. That's 614-NEW-ROOF, or visit online at newmanroofing.com. Don't just get a new roof, get a Newman roof.
At ADP, we know you want your landscape business to succeed, but we don't know anything about landscaping. ADP only knows how to handle the business of your small business. So if ADP focuses on the payroll and the HR, while you focus on the land and the scaping, success should follow. Just don't expect us to know all about Kentucky bluegrass, zero-turn cutting, or what to do with a woodchuck. That's for you to figure out. Let ADP help your small business focus on the part of the business you're good at. ADP for small business.
Broadcasting live from the McDaniel GM Superstore Studios. Driving excellence since 1916. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. WBNS HD1 Columbus.
Good afternoon. I'm Nate Putterball with your sports update. It's the end of spring practice for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and with that came the annual spring game. The defense defeated the offense 35-26. It was a short day of work for Julian Sain, who had a 4-yard touchdown run on the opening drive. Davian St. Clair and Chris Henry Jr. connected on a pair of deep balls, including a 40-yard touchdown pass. And freshman Luke Faley added a 61-yard touchdown run late in the game. The NBA playoffs begin today for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lead the Toronto Raptors big late in the third quarter. The Cincinnati Reds are on the road taking on the Minnesota Twins right now. Andrew Abbott on the mound taking on the Twins is Taj Bradley. The Twins currently lead 2-1 in the bottom of the third. The Guardians are at home tonight. They take on the Orioles at 7:30 at 6:10. And Columbus Crew are in Foxborough tonight, take on New England Revolution at 7:30. Breaking sports news, what happens on The Fan?
Live, local, and still slightly drunk.
I'm not drunk, all right? I just have a speech impediment.
This is Fan Sports Saturday.
Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett, Nate Putterbaugh with you. After the Ohio State spring game, we saw a little bit of Julian Sayin. I can't wait to see a lot of Julian Sayin this coming season. I told you before that last break that I think Julian Sayin is going to win the Heisman this year. He finished 4th in Heisman voting last season. You know, Jeremiah Smith, that might be some teammate on teammate competition for the Heisman Trophy. Year 3 Jeremiah Smith, I think, is going to be scary. But man, oh man, I love Julian Sayin this year. Like, I think this guy is going to have a monster year for Ohio State. The numbers last year were terrific. 77% completion percentage, 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I think he builds on that. And like we were talking about to open up the show, I think this year he takes that step and he has the ability to win games for Ohio State.
I mean, let's be real. He was 1 game away from winning it last year.
Right. Right. The Big Ten championship game away. You're not wrong about that. When it came down to it at that point, the conversation was whoever wins this game is going to win the Heisman Trophy between Sayin and Mendoza. And of course, Indiana gets it done. Yeah. I love Sayin this year.
And I think the Ohio State quarterback is always going to be a contender for the Heisman. And like you said, he was already in the running last year, and we didn't even get to see Julian Sayin at his full potential. I don't think we're going to see Julian Sayin at his full potential this year either, but I think it's going to be significantly better than what we saw last year, which was already a solid performance. Like you said, his numbers are amazing. He's got a full year under his belt throwing to Jeremiah Smith. He's got a more senior offensive line. I think that offensive line is made up entirely of seniors and juniors. So I think that he's got, I don't want to gas him up too much because, you get a little nervous about putting the weight of the world on his shoulders, but I would not be surprised to see Ryan Day put the weight of that offense on Julian Sayin because I felt like he spread it out a little bit more amongst the whole offense last year, but Julian has really come into himself. And he can kind of shoulder that burden.
Yeah, and what do you think that'll look like? Because that's a fascinating point for me, and maybe it even hurts my argument against Julian Sayin because last year Ohio State had so many weapons and it felt like they did spread it out. This year there are more unknowns when it comes to the other wide receivers outside of Jeremiah Smith, and even at the tight end position with transfers coming in, no more Max Clare. there's just something telling me that this year it's Julian Sayin to Jeremiah Smith heavy. Like Jeremiah Smith is going to be uber involved in the offense.
I agree, and I think Brandon Innes is going to have a really strong year because it's kind of similar to Carnell Tate where all eyes were on Jeremiah Smith, and so Carnell got to shine. I think Brandon Innes has a lot of potential. I think he's shown flashes of brilliance, and I think when you have teams that are just won't leave Jeremiah Smith alone, Brandon's going to have an opportunity to shine. But the other part of this is Bo Jackson is coming back, who we watched his progress throughout the year get better and better. And when you have a more experienced offensive line and you have a more experienced running back, defenses have to take that into account, and they won't be able to leave the whole defense back and only focus on Jeremiah Smith. So I think you have not only a more mature Julian Sayin, you have a more mature Ohio State offense coming into this season, which will allow Julian to be more comfortable in the pocket, have more options when they start to throw the ball, and he's more comfortable with his receivers and with the offense in general, that he's going to be able to make decisions on his own without just operating with exactly what the coaches tell him.
We have Stephen Means of Cleveland.com joining us at 3:30 to talk about the Ohio State spring game. So we'll kind of get his take on Julian Sayin as well, who ran in a touchdown, by the way, in this spring game. Maybe an added element that we'll see a little bit more of this year from Julian Sayin, using his legs. I know people were calling for that last year. They wanted to see him tuck it and run just a little bit more. Similar to the way people talked about C.J. Stroud, by the way. And I was just kind of curious. I wanted to go back and look at the numbers for C.J. Stroud, another quarterback coached by Ryan Day, to see about the progression from year one to year two. C.J. Stroud doesn't necessarily help my argument here because C.J. Stroud had just gargantuan numbers his redshirt freshman season at Ohio State, better than his sophomore season, but he finished fourth in Heisman voting his freshman season and finished third in Heisman voting his next year. So I think just you think about the wide receivers and the weapons he had back then. I think as a whole, probably better than what Ohio State has right now, but you have Jeremiah Smith now.
Yeah.
So I think, at least perception-wise, you're going to view Julian Sayin as maybe having to do more for the offense, putting more on his shoulders. And I suppose to help my Heisman argument here is that schedule that we talked about for Ohio State. There are some large games on that schedule that will benefit Julian Sayin if he is able to come up big in those games. I'm talking about at Texas early in the season, and they're sprinkled throughout the year too. At Indiana about halfway through the season. You've got Oregon, you've got USC, you've got the Michigan game. So he's going to have those kind of like tentpole games throughout the year where you're like, okay, he was really good in this game. That was a big game that we watched on ESPN or Fox. Okay, halfway through the year, he was great in this game. End of the year, he was awesome in this game. Like, I think Julian Sayin is going to be in Heisman voters' minds throughout the year. Of course, all of this with the caveat being he plays well in these games.
I think that's a great point because we can talk about stats, but one of the biggest faults against him last year in the Heisman conversation was he didn't beat anybody important, and then he lost in the big games. Obviously, it's not just Julian who's losing those games, but when you're trying to win the Heisman, nobody cares how many points you put up against Northwestern or Maryland. Obviously, they care if you didn't put up a lot of points against them. But like you said, they want to see what you do in big games against great defenses. And when, the chips are down, what is this quarterback going to do? What is this player going to do? And so, like you said, Julian has those opportunities throughout the season. Everybody at Ohio State has those opportunities throughout the season. But they need to win the big games, and the rest will follow.
I don't even know why I feel this way, though. It's just something about Sayin that it goes all the way back to the Texas game for me, that I just saw something in him in that game where I feel like he's unflappable. And, maybe what we saw in the Big Ten championship game and the college football playoff hurts that a little bit. But I think it got a little bit rich for a lot of the Ohio State offense in those games, to be completely honest with you. But what he showed under pressure, that was such a big game, that game against Texas. And I understand it was at home. It makes it a little bit easier. But, that's his first collegiate start in a huge game, 102,000 people. At that point in the year, people were calling it maybe the game of the college football season. You've got Arch, who was so hyped up on the other side of the field. He was awful in that game. But you had what was a very solid Texas defense. And there were moments in that game where Ohio State was backed up early. And Julian Sayin was very, very good under pressure. The accuracy was there. We saw the accuracy all season long. I just think there's something about the kid that he showed in those moments where I think this year it's like we're going to see something. Like like I said, it's hard for me to explain why, but what he is able to do in those pressure situations and put the ball where it needs to be in those pressure situations and manage the game in those high leverage situations, I think Ohio State has something special. I really, really do.
I do think he showed better composure than you expect out of a freshman and out of a first-time quarterback. I think when he started going up against elite defensive lines, you could see a little bit of that nervousness. But even then, I thought he showed good composure. It's just when you're running away from DNs all game, you're going to make some mistakes. And as a more experienced quarterback now, you would hope that he has a game plan in his own head to handle those situations. And where is he looking? Where are his eyes going when he's got defensive ends closing in around him? I also think he's going to have a really good season. Now, whether he's going to win the Heisman or not, obviously a toss-up at this point, but I would be amazed if he wasn't a front runner.
And speaking of, I'm just kind of looking at the Heisman voting last year. There's nobody that could win the Heisman this year outside of his teammate in Jeremiah Smith that's really on this list, like the people that received votes last year. And Nate, let's think about some of the quarterbacks that could be in the running this year, right? Dante Moore, Arch Manning, Lenoris Sellers, I suppose. Maybe Levitt at LSU, but none of those guys received Heisman votes last year. I'm looking at the 2025 Heisman Trophy voting, and the only guys really that would be in contention this coming year that received votes last year were Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith. Everybody else is gone.
I imagine Levitt will get some look just from the LSU hype going into the season.
Right.
Like, I'd expect him to be like one of the front runners to go into the year. But again, do you trust LSU to actually be like? Do you trust Lane Kiffin to win in that or to win in matters?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know what LSU is going to look like. But like the voting last year, Fernando Mendoza wins. He's gone. Diego Pavia second. He's gone. Jeremiah Love third. He's gone. Julian Sayin fourth. He's back. Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech, fifth. He's gone. Sixth. Jeremiah Smith.
And that's the question, right? Is if Julian Sayin's putting up crazy numbers through Jeremiah Smith, are they going to be 1 and 2? Is Jeremiah? How does the wide receiver, usurp the quarterback for the Heisman contention when he's getting fed the touchdowns from the quarterback?
That is the fascinating thing, because Devontae Smith won the Heisman Trophy and he put up just gaudy numbers, right? And Mac Jones was the quarterback for Alabama at that point, right? So like he put up big numbers too, but they decide, whoever they is, the voters decide, Devontae Smith did all the work this year. So, I mean...
I think the question is, does Julian have monster numbers to people not named Jeremiah Smith?
Yeah, like Jeremiah Smith, that's the thing. If he is the focal point of the Ohio State offense, which I think he is certainly going to be this season, and he puts up those numbers, he could be...
Like, if Chris Henry Jr. goes off this year, then it goes to Julian.
Right. Like, he could be the biggest guy that's taking away from Julian Sayin Smith.
But that's the difficult part of being Jeremiah Smith is all of these defenses are going to be focused on him 100%. So I think it's almost one of those situations where maybe the voters just are they're going to want to reward Jeremiah Smith, but he has to put up the numbers to match it. I think that Julian is just, why wouldn't he be looking for Jeremiah? Because even if Jeremiah's double or triple covered, he's getting open and he'll go and get the ball. And now that they have a year together, it's going to be his go-to guy. So Julian might be more comfortable throwing it to Jeremiah even if he's covered.
All right. Well, this is perfect. Michael, you're a radio pro, because what I want to talk about next, does Jeremiah Smith need a wingman? Is there a number 2? Does Ohio State have a number 2? Do they need a number 2? We're going to discuss next on 97.1 The Fan.
Unlike your deadbeat uncle, we'll never leave you stranded in a ditch when you were 6. This promo may have been a touch too specific. The Fan.
We're hiring at Don's Garage Doors. No experience? No problem. We provide full training, a brand new van, top-of-the-line tools, a gas card, and steady jobs with weekly pay. This isn't just a job. It's a career with real growth, great pay, and job security. Our team members go from training to 6 figures, and we're ready to help you do the same. Don't wait. Apply now at donsgaragedoors.com.
Matty Ice here. April showers bring May flowers and incredible savings at McDaniel GM Superstore in Marion. Spring into a brand new 26 Chevy Silverado 1500 and save up to $13,000 off MSRP. Plus, you can get rates as low as 1.9% with approved credit. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for details. We're talking serious power, serious capability, and a seriously low price. You can find them just off Route 23 on 95 in Marion or visit McDanielGMSuperstore.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Aaron, I've invented something really important.
Great. Tell me what it is.
You know how water heaters never give the homeowner any sort of signal that they are about to quit working?
Jerry, did you invent a way to solve that problem?
I sure did. I call it the Eco First Responder System.
I like it. How does it work?
Well, when your hot water heater quits working and you have no hot water, just call ECO before 5 p.m. and we guarantee to install your new hot water heater that same day, even if you decide to go tankless.
Jerry, that's been our policy for a long time. What exactly did you invent?
I invented the name, Aaron. The name. The Eco First Responder System. I thought you said you liked it.
Sure, Jerry. It's a great name for a really strong guarantee.
When your water heater quits working, just call ECO before 5 p.m. and we guarantee to install your new hot water heater that same day, even if you decide to go tankless.
You're a great guy, Jerry. I'm really glad you work here.
Get ECO.
ECO. GetEco.com.
I love Right Pack Credit Union because they're solution driven.
I feel valued as a member.
They're focused on the latest technology and the personal connections.
Experience benefits that go beyond banking with Right Pack Credit Union. Just ask our actual members.
I definitely recommend Right Pack to all my family and friends as a credit union of choice.
Visit one of our Columbus area Right Pack Credit Union member centers near you. Based on individual members' experiences, results may vary.
Colin Man here for Weed Man. I talk to you about Weed Man every year. Why? Simple. Number one, I use it. Number two, it works. You want to get those lawn roots thick, baby, because when that happens, they resist weeds, disease, and insects, and they're using top-of-the-line stuff. We're talking golf course quality. Weed Man is locally owned and operated by Corbin and Audrey. They will take care of you. Proudly serving Central Ohio and our Dayton friends. Call your local office, 614-733-3747, weedman.com.
In the old days when people lived to be 40, you only had one option for listening to your favorite show. But now, ooh, baby, radio, podcast, the Fan app, and YouTube, ooh, just to name a few, live or on demand. You have no excuses. The Fan.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Working your way through that home projects list, that means more flushes, more showers, more fiddling with the thermostat. Trust the pros at the Waterworks with your plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling needs. Our certified pros can repair or replace your air conditioner or furnace. Clogs? Call the Waterworks. Drain issues? Call the Waterworks. Plumbing problems? Call the Waterworks. HVAC breakdowns? Call the Waterworks. The Waterworks. Trusted and certified plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling experts.
It worked once, so we're doing it again. Sign up now for the Fan 5K, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center. We're back at Otterbein on Saturday, June 20th. Walk a mile with the Common Man, jog a 5K with T-Bone, or try to beat Tyvis in a 40-yard dash. Tyvis won't stretch, so there's a chance he pulls something. The fun starts at 8 a.m. Saturday, June 20th. Register today and earn a sweet medal, race T-shirt, and a photo op at the finish line. Sign up at 971therace.com. Prepare your tightest running clothes, and we'll see you at the Fan 5K on June 20th.
Hey there, friends. It's Bo Bishop here. You've heard me talk about High Bank's award-winning spirits, but let's talk about the food. High Bank delivers incredible meals and handcrafted cocktails in a space that works for every part of your week. Start with happy hour, drinks with friends, come back for brunch worth planning your weekend around, then stay for dinner. And get this, kids eat half off every Monday. Great food, award-winning drinks, a reason to come back time and time again. Make a reservation today at a location near you at highbankco.com. Dine, drink, distill at Highbank.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Scattered thunderstorms move out of the area in the early afternoon, leaving us with just a few spotty showers thereafter. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies and breezy. Temperatures fall from the 70s down into the 60s. Any rain ends early tonight with clearing skies late, lower 40s for a low. For Sunday, it'll be much cooler with highs in the mid-50s. Sunshine in the morning, more clouds in the afternoon with a couple of stray sprinkles. Breezy as well. For The Fan, I'm 10 Weather Impact meteorologist Justin Gertz.
Matty Ice has a large tattoo on his calf of LeBron eating a lion. I have nothing else to say. Rockman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan. During weekend programming, pants are optional.
Look at my butt!
However, leather chairs may have been a bad choice. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
NBA playoffs, Cavs, Raptors, game 1. Looks like the Cavs are on their way to a victory, 108-90 with 8 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. That's got to feel good, right? Cavs starting off hot.
It's always good to start off with a win, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't win you the whole thing yet, but it's better than starting off with a loss.
Cleveland's rocking, baby. We're going to talk playoffs a little bit later on. We also have Stephen Means, covers Ohio State football for Cleveland.com. He'll be joining us in the next segment. We were talking about Julian Sayin and why I think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy this coming year. The other guy that could win it from Ohio State is the guy he's going to be throwing to, Jeremiah Smith. My question for Jeremiah Smith is, are other teams going to target him so much that he's locked up and Ohio State has to go elsewhere? And if they have to go elsewhere, who is that going to be? Because they're losing Carnell Tate.
100% other teams are going to be targeting him, having two people on him at every single opportunity. The question is Julian still going to throw him the ball? He switched to Carnell Tate, and Carnell Tate had an incredible season. He's probably going to be a first rounder. I'd be amazed if he wasn't. But in this situation, we've got Jeremiah Smith, who is probably better than he was last season, and he's been the best receiver in the country for the last 2 years. So I expect him to be the best receiver in the country this year as well. So why wouldn't Julian still just throw the ball to him? I think Julian will have options. I think Brandon Ennis has showed a lot of potential. I think that he can be that solid number 2. I think some of these guys that we're bringing in could have potential, but I don't think anybody else on that field is going to command as much attention as Jeremiah.
So you look at the options, at least to get the ball this year for Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith last year had 87 catches, 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns. Obviously, barring an injury, that production's going to be there. He's Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate and Max Clare were the second and third leading receivers for Ohio State last season. You're losing 94 catches between those two guys and just about 1,300 yards. After that, Brandon Ennis last year had 36 catches, 271 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And behind that, you're looking at running backs, you're looking at backup tight ends, and young wide receivers. So, that's a big question mark for Brandon Ennis. That's going to have to be a big jump this year, right? Like getting him the ball a lot more.
100%. All eyes are going to be on him, especially from the Buckeye faithful, of when Jeremiah is effectively taken out of the game by being double or triple covered. Can we rely on Brandon Ennis to go make the play? I also think, we can keep an eye out for guys like David Adolph or Kyle Parker or Devin McQuinn. I think that there's an opportunity for them as well. We've got enough guys to have good competition to be competing for that number 2 and 3 spot. But like I said, I just think that because of the chemistry between Julian and Jeremiah, there'll be times it'll be a Matt Ryan and Julio Jones situation where he sees him covered and he throws the ball to him anyways, and Julio will go up and get it. And I think Jeremiah can do the same.
Well, you brought up a couple of those other names there. Transfers at the wide receiver position. Devin McEwen transferring in from UTSA, where he had a big season last year. 65 catches, 726 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
Yep.
That's a proven option. And then you have Kyle Parker, a former 4-star recruit from LSU. He had a couple of quiet seasons at LSU, and last year put up kind of similar production to Brandon Ennis in his redshirt sophomore season. 31 grabs, 330 yards, in 4 touchdowns in what was a difficult year for LSU. The big expectations for the Bayou Bengals last year, and they really, really struggled. But that is production right there from those two guys. Obviously, for McEwen at least, it's a little bit different of a situation, UTSA to Ohio State. But for Kyle Parker, LSU to Ohio State, SEC to Big Ten, that's comparable. So I'm very curious to see how those guys gel into the offense as well.
I don't think anybody's expecting them to usurp Jeremiah Smith. No. I don't think anybody needs them to. The question is, are they going to catch the ball when it's thrown to them? Can they run crisp routes? Will they block when they need to block? And I think that, I trust the scouting department at Ohio State. I trust that receiver room, which we still have questions surrounding the new receivers coach and whether he can continue what Coach Hartline was doing in that room. But I think we have enough options that if teams are going to overload Jeremiah Smith the way we expect them to, that there will still be places that Julian can go with the ball.
Cortez Hankton, that new wide receivers coach for Ohio State, coming from LSU, obviously great pedigree with wide receivers there. Nate, how do you think this all shakes out?
Well, this is just a question I wanted to ask. If we're talking about Brandon Innes and Chris Henry Jr. is getting all this hype, do you spend that Ball State game just going bombs away to those two guys to put that thought into Texas the next week?
I mean, maybe so. Like what you're putting on tape. I think everybody knows what you're getting out of Jeremiah Smith. You have to show something with these other guys, right?
You have to make them at least think about they might go to them.
Right.
I don't know. I would be disgusted if I was Jeremiah Smith and you weren't trying to get me the Heisman.
No. You get yours in that game first, and then you maybe see what you got in these other guys.
Definitely that second or those last 3 quarters, you can start spreading it out.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up Chris Henry Jr.
Yeah.
I know people are very excited to see what do you buy into this hype, Nate, that we're going to see something from Chris Henry Jr. year 1, or do you think it's going to take time?
I made the mistake of not buying into the Jeremiah Smith hype, so I'm not going to make that mistake again.
It's not a mistake. If they haven't done it in college yet, I'm not buying it. And that's not me saying it's not going to happen. It's show me.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that Chris Henry's got the measurables. We saw him out there. He ran some beautiful routes, showed some speed, was catching the footballs that were thrown to him. Show me in crunch time.
That is something that these things have a way of just working themselves out, right? In those first couple games of the season, you see who are ballers and who aren't. Guys just step up. And, sometimes, in the past, we've kind of seen this in the spring game. I don't necessarily.
The spring game hero.
Right.
The Bam Childress Award.
Well, I remember a few years. I remember a few years ago when Malik Hooker, it was going to be, I suppose that was 2016. Malik Hooker was an unknown commodity at Ohio State. And I know we're talking about a safety compared to a wide receiver, but he flashed. He had 2 or 3 picks in the spring game, and everybody was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And Malik Hooker went on to have what I think was an All-American season. He was unreal that year. You see it sometimes in the spring game.
There's also one thing we're not discussing with this whole conversation is Julian Saint was already arguably the most accurate quarterback in America last year.
Yeah.
We're going to see Jeremiah Smith be probably even better again. Are they even going to care if he's double teamed?
Right. That's kind of what Michael was saying.
That's what I'm saying. A Matt Ryan, Julio Jones situation where go ahead, put the safety and 2 safeties in a corner.
Catch it anyway.
Yeah, I don't care. He's going to go up and get it. That's what I'm actually leaning towards, that being the situation where obviously you got to spread it out from time to time, but he's most comfortable with Jeremiah Smith on this roster more than any of the other guys, and we know that quarterbacks throw it to who they're comfortable throwing it to more so than just who's open.
So I guess you're answering the question that we led this segment off with. Ohio State doesn't really need a true number 2 this season because they have such an elite number 1.
Such an elite number 1 who has such good chemistry with the starting quarterback.
My only pushback on that is we saw with Marvin Harrison a couple of years ago when Emeka went down, as great as Marvin was, it still wasn't quite the same.
Yeah. And that's
without that number 2.
That's where I'm coming from. I do think you need that other option to scare a defense. And who's to say where Ohio State might have it?
What's better than 1 great receiver, 2 great receivers, or 3 great receivers? So you never want to be like, all right, you guys, we don't need you this year. We'll wait till Jeremiah Smith's out there before you can develop. We want to see great receivers. Carnell Tate, who was going to be saying that Carnell Tate was going to have the season that he had last year? I didn't hear his name floated around a ton before the season, but he flashed early and he stayed consistent throughout the season. And I think a lot of that was a product of these teams overloading Jeremiah Smith.
Mm-hmm. So
we'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're going to see how it shakes out this coming season. Like I said, those first couple games of the year, that's when you find out.
Yep.
I guess Ohio State was very vanilla with the offense today, so we didn't get to find out a whole lot today. We'll have to wait until the fall for that to happen. A guy that did have the opportunity to see the Buckeyes today, Stephen Means of Cleveland.com. He joins us coming up next, Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
There's nothing like picking fresh fruits, vegetables, and herbs from your own garden. They're fresh and taste better. Those delicious treats start at Oakland Nursery. Number one size blueberry plants start at just $9.99. Cool season vegetable plants start at $2.99 a pack. Asparagus roots, rhubarb crowns, gooseberries, strawberries, and more. And all of your favorite herbs too. Premium quality fruit trees start at just $29.99. Fresh fruit in your cereal and yogurt, fresh veggies in your salad, and herbs in your favorite dish. It all starts at Oakland Nursery.
Grilling season starts now at Billiards Plus. Shop top-of-the-line grills and turn every cookout into a win. Then bring the fun inside with pool tables, shuffleboard, and more. Everything for the ultimate game room. Billiards Plus. Grills, games, and good times. Online or on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
There's an old story about cat toys that's been retold for over 20 years because it perfectly explains who we are. This is Dennis Sullivan, president of Care Heating and Cooling. Years ago, a couple who shared their house with 3 cats had another company out to look at their furnace. After working on it, the technician said it was dangerous and had to be replaced. The couple called Care for a second opinion, and my dad Mike went out to help them. When he inspected the furnace, the cause of the problem became obvious. A cat toy had been stuffed into the heat exchanger. With the toy removed, the furnace ran perfectly. Now, how did the toy get there? You can decide for yourself. But here's what mattered then and still matters now. The first company paid commissions to their service techs to sell new furnaces. At Care, we pay our technicians to fix furnaces, not sell you a new one. And if a new furnace is needed, our team of replacement specialists will advise you on all options available and help you make your best choice. Care Heating and Cooling. Call 1-800-COOLING when you need a company you can trust.
Spring showers revealing roofing or siding issues? Trust the pros at Newman Roofing for expert care, white glove service, and quality you can count on. Schedule your estimate today and take advantage of special financing options. Call 614-NEW-ROOF or visit newmanroofing.com today.
No hot takes, no dancing, plenty of stupid. Bishop and Friends.
Weekdays from 9 to noon.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Sports talk, weekend style. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
Fan Sports Saturday with Michael Bennett, Dylan Tyrer, and Nate Puderbaugh. We're having a good time after the Ohio State spring game. The defense prevailed over the offense 35-26. And right now, I am pleased to be joined by Stephen Means of Cleveland.com. He covers the Ohio State Buckeyes. Stephen, I know pretty vanilla out there today. The rain was a damper on things as well. But what did you learn about the Ohio State Buckeyes in this spring game?
Yeah, I think my 2 biggest takeaways were that I think the quarterback room is in good hands with the development of Tavian St. Clair behind Julian Sand. I think this is really the first time we've gotten to see him in extended action in Ohio Stadium because he only played about 13 snaps last year. None of those came against FBS opponents. So just seeing where that development was, listen, there's no quarterback controversy, but he is right on schedule to be the backup quarterback this year. I think that's a no question. And if we're in a situation where Julian does leave after the 26th season, I think fans can walk away pretty happy with what they saw from Tavian as a backup quarterback going into 2027 as a potential starter. And then on defense, I think they got a legit dude at cornerback in Devin Sanchez, like the type of guy who could take away the entire side of the field. I think what he got last year in experience as a true freshman kind of getting thrown in the fire, I think we're starting to see that pay off, and I think the fans got to see that up in person on Saturday.
All right, let's dig a little bit deeper into that with Sanchez, because Michael and I were talking about this earlier in the program that, you know, there are so many unknowns on the Ohio State defense this year, but you feel like with the transfers coming in that defensive backfield, there will be a level of certainty there, but it feels like somebody needs to step up and be that playmaker, and we both kind of felt like Sanchez could be that guy for Ohio State. So what did you see from him today that makes you believe that?
Yeah, I think listen, he's been going up against Jeremiah Smith all spring, and obviously there have been some clips that have sprinkled off from different practices. So I'm not going to make the biggest deal out of one rep where he beat Jeremiah on that rep. But it's really just, I felt like Saturday was a punctuation of all of that. Like there were a couple of times where they went at Devin today where I was looking at one of my coworkers and we just went, they got to stop throwing at Devin Sanchez. And if we're already saying that this spring, given what's on the schedule with Oregon and Texas and Indiana and Michigan, those teams all have really good wide receivers. And if we're living in a world in the fall where we're like, they got to stop throwing at Devin Sanchez, how much did that open up things for Matt Patricia and this defense for how they might want to use the other 10 guys on the field? Because there's one guy on the field who's shutting down another team's opposing team's top wide receiver on the other side of the field. So I didn't feel like this is not an overreaction to today. I think this is more of a punctuation to what we'd already been seeing and hearing about Devin Sanchez this offseason. And that's that this guy's ready to be the star that he kind of arrived with. All that potential he arrived with, it sounds and it looks like he's ready to start reaching that potential in 2026.
Steven, we all know that the spring game is an opportunity to see young guys who everybody's been curious about and now transfer players who everybody's curious about. You've already mentioned that Devin Sanchez was really jumping off the screen. Were there any young guys or transfer players that you got an opportunity to see in this spring game that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I think from a transfer situation, I think it's a little unfortunate that we didn't get to see Earl Little because we'd been hearing some really good things about him throughout the spring, and so it's unfortunate. Ryan Day, so he had surgery on his knee. He should be back by the summer, so that's fine. I think the guys up front, James Smith and John Walker, the two transfers from UCS to Alabama, and you can throw Quay Russo into that mix as well. I thought those guys flashed today, and they flashed throughout the spring. I thought Bo Atkinson, as the former North Carolina transfer who got here last year, looked a lot more comfortable here as a guy who's gotten a chance to go through an entire spring. And from a freshman standpoint, I mean, Chris Henry Jr., I think it started slow, right? It maybe took him some time early in the spring to kind of get acclimated into things. But when it turned on, it's clearly starting to click for him. He lost his black stripe this past week as well. You can see the light starting to turn on there, and you can see the potential of what he's going to eventually be. And it seems like now going into the summer, he's heading into the summer with some momentum. I don't know what that means in terms of a role for him in 2026 right now. I guess we'll see. But worst case scenario, he spends this year learning behind Jeremiah Smith, and then in 2027 he takes over as the X receiver. But I think for a guy who maybe got off to a slow start at the beginning of spring and how big of a deal it was that they held on to him when Brian Hartline left, I think fans got to see the development there and how that's going, and it's going in a positive direction.
Talking with Steven Means. He covers the Buckeyes for Cleveland.com. Steven, do the Buckeyes have a kicker in Connor Hawkins?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest play of the day, right? Him making a 46-yarder. Now, granted, he missed one later on, I believe, but like, who cares? It was raining. So it's like you take the good with the bad there, but I think yes and no. He's made these types of kicks before, all right? He's made a 53-yard game-winning field goal before when he was at Baylor. So at least the proof is in the pudding that he can do that, coming off of what we've dealt with Jaden Fielding over the last couple of years, where those clutch moments maybe weren't his strong suit. He at least has proof that he can do so. But I think it is fair, whether you're in the media or you're a fan or you're a coach at Ohio State, that you take all of this with a grain of salt of, that's cool that you made this, but what's going to happen when it's 17-17 against Indiana or 24-20 against Oregon, and you need it and you gotta have it? And so it was good to see it go in, and that was great for the fan base. It got really loud when he made that field goal. It was kind of funny, but I think cautious but optimistic that the kicking game is not going to ruin Ohio State's season the way it has at times in the last couple of years.
Fingers crossed. Now, as a former defensive lineman, I'm always trying to look at the defensive line. So I love that you mentioned the new guys on the defensive line and James Smith and John Walker. But I have questions this year of what is this offensive line going to be capable of? We know we've got weapons on the offense with Bo Jackson and Julian and Jeremiah and Brandon Ennis. How did you feel watching this spring game and watching the spring practices about this offensive line that's composed of a lot of seniors and juniors?
Yeah, I think there's some good and some bad with it. I think Austin Sarabelt and Philip Daniels have obviously been out for the better half of the spring practice. Both had some surgeries this offseason. These are people where no one is concerned that they won't be back by the time summer workouts roll around and those things, so it can be fine. But I think in their absence, what it allowed for is Tyler Bowen to give a lot of the young guys behind them a lot of reps and see what he's got, whether it's Ian Moore, whether it's Carter Lowe, who I don't know if he had the best day on Saturday, but it's healthy, right? These are reps. Like, this is a guy who has not played a lot of football. So, like, right now it can only be positive, even if it doesn't always look good. Gabe Van Sickle getting some reps. And so I think that's the good thing is there's a lot of football players who are going to come out of the spring in that offensive line room who got a chance to get a lot of reps, and then you're going to get Austin Sareveld, you're going to get Phillip Daniels back, and then you go into the summer, you go into fall camp, and you figure out who your best five are. I think their best five is taking Austin Sareveld and moving him to right guard and starting Ian Moore, who had a decent day today, and then keeping the other three guys who are returning, Luke Montgomery at left guard, Carson Hinsman at center, and Phillip Daniels at right tackle, where they are, which is why, again, this was so valuable for Ian Moore to go up against Bo Atkinson, to go up against Kenyatta and Quay Russo and, Zion Grady and on down the list there and get as many reps as possible, because while he looked good in the Miami game, he's still not played a ton of football. So I think the front line of the offensive line will be fine. I truly believe that, and I think there's a chance that they make a step where maybe you put them in Joe Moore conversations, but we'll get there when we get there. But I think the value was a lot of young guys got a lot of reps. Now the question becomes, do you turn that rep into something, right? Are we talking about a room that feels like it's 9-10 deep by the time the season starts? Or what we saw today from Carter Lowe, what we saw today from other young guys who didn't always look great, is that a sign of where things are going from a development standpoint, and maybe this room is not where it needs to be yet?
Talking with Stephen Means of Cleveland.com. He covers the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Stephen, today Julian Sayin did not have many of the weapons available to him that he will have during the season. What did that tell us about Julian Sayin?
I think the fact that there were so many problems today was the best case scenario for Julian Sayin, because it got a chance for us to see him problem solve, which I think last year was not his strength in those last two games. I think when the offensive line broke down in those last two games against Miami and Indiana, and I don't think he handled it well. And granted, especially when you look at the guy on the other sideline, whether it was Fernando Mendoza with Indiana or Carson Beck against Miami, I felt like as good as Julian Sayin was last year, those two were everything he wasn't, and that's experienced. And he had gone through this, and they were willing and able to solve problems when they arose. And I think that's the difference between a veteran starting quarterback and a young starting quarterback. Last year, Julian Sayin's a point guard. You get the ball to your weapons and you let them do the work for you. I think now he's an experienced starting quarterback. He's got to be one of the guys solving the problems. He's got to be one of the guys elevating this offense. And when your offensive line is missing two starters, Jeremiah Smith played 5 plays, Brandon Innes played 5 plays, and it's kind of mix and match, and the defensive line is getting after you. I think us seeing him use his legs, he said after the game that he would have won the rap against Peyton Pierce if they were live. I don't know how many of us believe that, but it's good to see the confidence. But I think we know he can throw the ball. I think we wanted to see him use his legs, and we wanted to see what he would do when plays broke down. And I think the situation today forced him to have to show that he's been working on that and that it's headed in the right direction. I think we saw that on Saturday.
Stephen, thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. Great stuff.
Anytime, guys. Thanks.
All right, there he is, Stephen Means of Cleveland.com, giving us the latest from the Ohio State spring game today. Michael, great stuff there on Julian Sayin. I like the conversation about problem solving.
Yeah, Stephen has some great insight into what we all saw at the spring game and where this Buckeye team is now and where it needs to go. That was really helpful.
I know we've got a little bit of conversation going on right now about some potential changes to the shoe. So coming up next, we'll share our thoughts, maybe what we would like to see change.
I've got a couple things in mind. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's coming up next, Fan Sports Saturday, right here on The Fan.
A lot has changed in 30 years, but we're still that old shoe that feels worn in and well-loved. And, well, we smell a little, but you've accepted that. The Fan.
At Great Lakes Hyundai, the savings are so good.
Spring into savings at Great Lakes Hyundai. Right now, drive your new Hyundai with payments as low as $94 per month for a 2-year lease. Get spring lease savings on every model from Elantra to Palisade. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with owner assurance and America's best warranty. A 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain coverage. Dublin or Columbus or glakeshyundai.com. With approved credit payment on 26 Elantra SC, $39.95 down plus tax title first month payment. 7,500 miles per year and $430.
At
educators, healthcare workers, first responders, and military. The Columbus Aviators salute you with $10 tickets to any home game. Get yours at uflaviators.com.
What can ADP do for small business? We help answer the business questions, like how do you track employee time? How do you do payroll taxes? Or what does compliance even mean? So small businesses can focus on bigger questions. Now florists can ask, can we invent another holiday to sell bouquets? Pizza shops can ask, how do we stuff a calzone into a pizza crust? And pool cleaners can ask, what is that thing in the filter? These are the questions you can focus on when ADP takes care of the business of your small business. ADP for small business.
Our yoga instructor challenged us to find inner peace. I found it faster than anyone. After 4 seconds, I stood up and screamed, I found Nirvana! I win! They asked me to leave. I guess they don't respect winning. Bet365 does, though. New customers get $200 in bonus bets just for betting $10. Namaste, losers. Bet365. Winning is everything. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-MY-RESET. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. T&Cs apply. In-app only.
Coffee, sandwich, hash browns. Tired of the same breakfast routine? Time to refresh your morning ritual with a $6 Tim's Trio from Tim Hortons. It starts with a premium blend of freshly brewed coffee, a hot, savory breakfast sandwich made with freshly cracked eggs, and for a tasty twist, a daily baked donut to sweeten the deal. Ask for the $6 Tim's Trio. Your morning ritual refreshed. Only at your neighborhood Tim Hortons. At participating U.S. restaurants, must ask for offer. Medium coffee only. Terms apply.
I'm Jeff Hogan. I've been a journalist at 10 TV for more than 20 years. I don't just report about our community, I belong to it. And that's why we care so deeply about getting it right. And when local journalism is done right, it moves. It moves you to act, to speak up, or lend a hand. And yes, it moves your heart through the kind of human storytelling that stays with you wherever you are. And at 10 TV, we're here for all of it. These are the stories that move Central Ohio.
Parents, are your teens good with money? No. Switch to Huntington Bank and let's teach them. They get their own card, which they can add to their digital wallet, and you can monitor and set spending limits. Let's get more from money. Switch to Huntington Bank. Welcome. Eligibility requirements apply. Some features may require enrollment.
T-Bone and Tybus is sponsored by Capital Ford of Columbus.
Snitches might get stitches, but they do sometimes avoid federal prison for 65 years.
Why do 10 when you can tell on a friend?
Mornings on The Fan.
Enjoy more ways to save at Kroger, like low prices in every aisle. And you can clip and save more with digital coupons in the Kroger app. Plus, you can earn fuel points to save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. So it's always easy to save big. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Fuel restrictions apply. See site for details.
Kroger makes it easy to save on fuel. Just redeem the points you've earned to save up to $1 a gallon at the pump. See store for details. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Spring cleaning isn't just for your house, it's for your life. If your job is getting old, it's time to clear the clutter and spring into IT. Go to My Computer Career.
My Computer Career helped me get the skills and certifications I needed to start a new life as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications the top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, I think I saw a fox on my way in.
Oh, that was the Carfax Carfox. He was congratulating us on our Carfax Top-Rated Service Center Award.
I have always rated Tire Discounters at the very top.
Oh, thanks. So does Carfax. And not just for tires, but for all our services, too.
Alignment, brakes, shocks, and struts, and more.
Yes, sir.
But, Mike, do you think people believe Carfax over me?
Well, you are the Phantom tire buyer.
Exactly.
With the first pick of my favorite places in Columbus, I choose Hollywood Casino Columbus. The draft is coming up. 4 in the top 10. Oh, man, is this draft going to be fun. So much fun, we need to throw a party. Scotty Vegas here, and come to the sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus on Thursday, April 23rd for the draft. We're going to have contests, prizes, and best bets. See you at 7 on Thursday, April 23rd. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Ohio Heating and Bryant. Doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
Instead of annoying national people talking to you this weekend, we've opted for annoying local people. This is Fan Sports Saturday.
Great to be with you guys on this rainy Saturday after the Ohio State spring game. Looked like there was a good crowd there at Ohio Stadium despite all the rain, which you love to see that for the spring game, right?
Ohioans are used to the rain. We're not going to let a little weather scare us off.
So speaking of Ohio weather, a few years ago, it has to be like 9 or 10 years ago, I was over broadcasting an Ohio State baseball game against Bethune-Cookman.
Okay.
The day began, I swear to you, it was 70 degrees and windy, very windy, when I got over to the baseball stadium. During the game, it rained, it hailed, and it finished snowing. In a day that began when it was 70 degrees.
Yeah.
That's Ohio weather.
That's the beauty of Ohio. I think we've had a couple of those days this year already. I remember, I tell this all the time, me and Brandon were in London one time, and we were like standing outside of a building for a total of 15 minutes. We experienced like 50-degree weather. There was rain on one side, hail on another, and then snow. And then it cleared back up, all in a 15-minute span. I was like, I feel like I'm at home.
In London, England.
In London, England.
That's some Harry Potter magic type stuff right there.
But it's Ohio weather. That's what we grew up with.
You're right about that. Well, you're never going to get an indoor football game at Ohio State. You're never, ever going to get that.
It takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, it's the shoe, baby. But they're talking about potentially making some changes to the shoe. Ohio State sent out a survey to stakeholders, season ticket holders earlier this week, asking about some changes. Do you want to see, more premium areas? Do you want to see this? Do you want to see that? If I put the ball in your court, what would you like to see change about the shoe?
The first change I would make was to put the Michigan logo in the pee troughs in all of the bathrooms. I think that would be great. I think the bathrooms would be a lot cleaner. That would probably be my first change. And then I think it would be awesome to see more local business, local food spots in the shoe. I think it would be cool. I'm a big soft pretzel guy, so put some of, Schmidt's like pretzel nuggets in there. I don't know, some Hound Dogs pizza or something. I want to see some local joints in the shoe represented.
And you're a crew guy, right?
I am,
the crew. They do that over at what's it called? Scott's Miracle Grow Field now, or Miracle Grow Park, whatever it is. But they do a good job of that with the local food.
Yeah, and I think it would be tough. I can imagine it would be tough for a local business to be able to keep up with the demand at a 110,000 person stadium. But you always want to support the local businesses, and we've got some good food in Columbus. So
do we ever?
To be able to go to an Ohio State game and eat your favorite pizza or favorite hot dogs, whatever it is, would be awesome.
You know what I would love? Just like one of those Schmidt's cream puffs during an Ohio State game. Those cream puffs are so good.
Thurman's, while they're burnt down right now, at the shoe would be amazing.
Dude, those burgers, oh my God. People would be vomiting in the stands.
Do you think they could keep up with the demand? I mean,
they keep up with some pretty decent demand as it is.
Yeah, that's true. Thurman's is awesome. What would you want to see change with the shoe, Nate? If you could wave a magic wand and this would be different.
I'm first and foremost always going to be a music guy. I've met every member of camp. I've done radio shows with 2 of them. That song has got to go.
You don't like the pregame camp song?
No, no. It needs 21 Pilots. I'm not the biggest fan of, but Ride is sitting right there. It is perfect. Why are we not doing this?
Well, Imagine Dragons. They seem to be the background for everything.
Yeah, for all ESPN stuff, all pump up stuff. For me, I think the bathrooms there, if we're speaking practically, I think the bathrooms are the number one thing people want to see, just a little bit of an upgrade there. Obviously, you have to keep up just when it comes to updating an older building like that. New paint, repair the stairs. I know they've done a good job with the Wi-Fi there. That's been a way different thing, even since, I was first a student at Ohio State. If you went in there, it was impossible to send a text. And now you can communicate with people and that sort of thing. I wouldn't mind seeing an upgraded scoreboard video board in the north end zone. You've kind of got that little thing going on right now. And, you kind of look at the shoe and you think about that north end zone. Could you put something up at the top, like a big video board at the top, or would that ruin the Ohio Stadium experience for you? You know what I'm talking about?
I know. I see your hesitancy, because you want to improve the stadium without taking the tradition out of it, without making it too modern. But yeah, it seems to be like the giant video boards are the future. Heck, they're the present at a lot of places. So I wouldn't be super opposed to it.
And I know they've done some good job to like add some of these video boards in other areas to maybe make up for the lack of in that area, lack of a large video board. But that's just something for me that it's nice to have it on both sides of the field.
I feel like you can actually, you can see the game very well from just about anywhere in the stadium, though. So maybe with the replays and everything like that, a big video board would be helpful. But I don't know. Good job, good luck convincing them to spend however much it is to get a freaking 80-foot video board.
Where do you guys stand on like the addition of premium seating? Because that's the number one thing I think nowadays to get more sponsors in, things like that. The addition of premium seating, and quite frankly,
kept talking about it during his interview today.
Yeah, like quite frankly, Ohio Stadium didn't really have much of it outside of that Huntington suite level or whatever. And then in the last couple of years, they've done renovations to add more suites. They've added those like suites on the field in the end zone. So where do you guys kind of stand on that? It's not like I don't know if you and I will ever be sitting in the premium area at Ohio Stadium, but it's always nice to have that sort of stuff, I suppose.
It's nice. Everything's a business, right?
Yeah,
so you're trying to find ways to get more money out of everything. But when it comes to situations where you've got large crowds, anytime you start packing in more premium seating, more like higher costs and everything like that, you start losing some of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
People go because it's cozy. People go because it looks cool on Instagram. They don't go to cheer on their team. They don't go to be rowdy.
See the Schottenstein Center.
I was just going to say, that's what they're dealing with over there, right?
I want to find the ways to get the rowdy fans in there, the people who love Ohio State and travel far to bring their kids to the game, to share that experience with them. But I say all that understanding that it's a business and, they're trying to get every buck out of it, and everybody's doing premium seating now. But if it was up to me, we would have standing room and, well, you need seats.
Yeah.
But just packing people in there and having a good time and making it a good experience for people who love Ohio State but don't have a spare $2,000.
Like they're talking about putting those boxes right in front of the south end zone.
Yes, that is what I was referencing earlier.
My worry is like they keep expanding up the south end zone, and it's like, where are you going to put the students?
Right.
We already can't afford tickets.
Yeah, that's one that I'm not the biggest fan of, is like those boxes on the field. I know some NFL teams do that now, and that's not even like a great view.
I was about to say it's not. We're not seeing the game.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's more for the comfort and coziness and that Instagram picture. Look at the cool area that I got to sit in. For me, like I think going to a game at OSU is a solid game day experience. I'm not quite sure it's the same as maybe some of these like crazy SEC environments, like going to a Tennessee or going to an LSU. For you, like when you played, and I'm talking about purely like the feeling as a player to be in the shoe. How did that compare to some of the other big venues that you went to?
So the only places that I felt could rival the shoe were Penn State, and then the Superdome.
Okay.
I thought the Superdome, and maybe that's just the fact that it's a dome.
It's so loud in there.
It's so loud in there. It's packed in. And it's, when we played there, it was a playoff game with a lot of like high stakes and everything. So everybody was rowdy, and it was against Alabama. So like Alabama fans are wild, just as wild as Ohio State fans. So that was a crazy atmosphere. But no other stadium other than those two I felt like could match the energy, especially when you get those third downs at Ohio State.
Yeah.
The crowd gets amped
Hell's
up.
bells going.
Yeah, that's a whole different type of atmosphere. I haven't been to an LSU game. I've heard that their stadium is crazy and their fans are wild. But, I just don't want to lose what that does, because it really does, as a player, it hypes you up. It gets you excited. It locks you into what's happening, because it almost cancels everything else out because of how much noise is going on, that all you have is what's in front of you. So I would hate to lose that, where, you just hear everything during those big moments.
Well, since you brought up the Superdome, why don't we shift gears and do a little bit of NFL talk? We've got the draft coming up this week. Could be a very, very big first round for the Ohio State Buckeyes and everybody else involved in that process. So Michael and I will talk a little bit more about the NFL draft coming up. Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
We are your radio home for the Buckeyes, Browns, and all the NFL games you can handle. We may have a bit of a football problem. Oh, yeah. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well,
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
Need a roof you can count on? Ramos Roofing has protected homes and businesses throughout Ohio for almost 20 years. Whether it's a leaky roof, storm damage, new siding, or new gutters to protect your foundation, Ramos Roofing delivers quality materials, professional installation, and honest service every time. Get your free roof or exterior assessment today and ask about Ramos Roofing's no-interest financing options. Call 614-761-7663 or visit online at ramosroofingohio.com.
James Laurinaitis here for my guys at Green & Sons, the premier Kubota dealership in Central Ohio. Green & Sons has all the Kubotas you need to tackle your land and come out a winner. They have zero-turn skid steers, tractors from 18 to 171 horsepower, and also utility vehicles. My favorite is my RTV Sidekick. The best thing about Green & Sons is they've been family-owned and operated since 1970, and you will love dealing with the Green family and their winning team. Do what I did and check out Green & Sons located in Mount Sterling and Marysville or online at greenandsons.com for all your Kubota needs.
At Babs R Us, we believe home improvement is life improvement. As the Midwest's fastest growing 5-star bathroom remodeler, we're more than just transformations. We're a community driven by a mission to bring your dreams to life. Our installation team, part of the Babs R Us community, isn't just skilled. They're dedicated to respecting your home. Each day, they bring craftsmanship and hustle, turning your dream space, no matter the size, into reality. Together, we embrace a culture that values diversity, collaboration, and giving back. From supporting local projects to fostering a workplace where every voice is valued, Babs R Us is more than a company. It's a community of experts. We're also expanding locations to create more possibilities for homeowners across the Midwest. Wherever you are, you'll find us ready to turn your dreams into something you can see, feel, and enjoy every day. Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel. Plus, loans and no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BAB to schedule your free estimate or go to babsrus.com. Babs R Us, where dreams soak in.
Broadcasting live from the McDaniel GM Superstore Studios, driving excellence since 1916. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. WBNS HD1 Columbus.
Good afternoon. I'm Nate Pooner, Other Sports Update. It's the end of spring practice for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and with that came the annual spring game. The defense defeated the offense 35-26. It was a short day of work for Julian Sain, who had a 4-yard touchdown run on the opening drive. David Sinclair and Chris Henry Jr. connected on a pair of deep balls, including a 40-yard touchdown pass. Freshman Luke Fahey added a 61-yard touchdown run late in the game. The NBA playoffs began today for the Cleveland Cavs. They took down the Raptors 126-113. Donovan Mitchell had 32 points, and James Harden added 22 points and 10 rebounds. Game 2 is Monday night. The Cincinnati Reds are on the road taking on the Minnesota Twins. Drew Abbott on the mound taking on the Twins' Taj Bradley. The Twins currently lead 4-2 in the 6th. And the Cleveland Guardians are at home tonight against the Baltimore Orioles. First pitch is at 6:10. Bragging Sports News 1 Evans of the Fan, Ohio Sports Destination.
Just because it's the weekend doesn't mean we shut up. This is Fan Sports Saturday.
Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett, Nate Pooterbaugh here with you on a tremendous sports Saturday. We hammered on the Ohio State Buckeyes for the first couple of hours with, of course, the spring game happening today. But in this final hour, we're going to get into more of what's going on around the rest of the sports world. The NFL draft coming up on Thursday, round 1 in Pittsburgh. Heck, the Blue Jackets made some big news earlier this week. Rick Bowness back for another season. We'll chat with Jackets insider Jeff Svoboda.
Hockey playoffs started with a fight.
Yes, the hockey playoffs started with a fight. Literally the first game between the Ottawa Senators and the Carolina Hurricanes. They dropped the puck at 3:08 Eastern, and off the opening faceoff, the captains of the teams fought. Jordan Stahl for Carolina, Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators. they dropped the gloves. So we got to talk about the playoffs, NBA and NHL, all of that coming up over the course of the next 60 minutes. But I want to get started talking about the NFL draft. We have round 1 Thursday. It starts at 8 p.m. in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The draft, remember, a 3-day event now. Rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, then 4 through 7 wrapping up on Saturday. And the guy that I always go to when it comes for my draft prep is Dane Brugler of The Athletic. This guy is a monster with all the work that he puts in. He unleashes the Beast Draft Guide every year, which has write-ups and rundowns on pretty much every draft-eligible player. This guy, he's awesome. And he just came out with his final 7-round mock draft. So, yes, this guy made 257 picks. And he has 4 Ohio State Buckeyes going in the top 8. He has Arvell Reese going 2nd overall to the New York Jets. He has Caleb Downs going 5th to John Harbaugh and the New York Giants. Then he has Sonny Styles going 6th in a mock trade between Cleveland and Dallas. So Styles going to Dallas, and Carnell Tate, the Buckeye wide receiver, going 8th overall to join Chris Olave on the New Orleans Saints. So, Michael, what do you think about these guys, these draft-eligible prospects for Ohio State?
I think this is a very interesting draft class for Ohio State because it won't be the most draft picks we've seen or produced from Ohio State in any given year, but I think this will be the most top 15 draft picks Ohio State's produced in any given year. I think it would be very surprising to anybody if Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, and Carnell Tate aren't all top 15 picks. And then you also throw in Caden McDonald could sneak into the first round. I think it's tough for a nose guard to be a first-round pick unless he's had, 15 sacks in his college career. But Caden McDonald has showed that he's capable of playing in his first year as an NFL player. I think he could be an integral part of an NFL team in his first year, which could push him up into the first round. But those first 4 guys, I would be amazed if they slid past the 15th pick.
And the thing here that's interesting, for Caden McDonald in earlier mocks, he was going 20 to 30. Now they have him more so at the top of the second round. For example, Dane Brugler has him going to the Raiders with the 4th pick of the second round. But you think back to last summer and, they do the way too early mock drafts. So, the mock draft after the draft last year. And at that point, I think Max Clare probably would have been a first-round pick for a lot of people. Now he's probably a second or third rounder. And Sonny Styles wasn't going to be a top 10 pick.
Yep.
And for Sonny Styles, the combine changed everything. I think Arvell Reese, everybody assumed, okay, Arvell Reese is a freak. He's going to test extremely well. But people outside of the Woody over at Ohio State, I don't think we're ready for what happened with Sonny Styles.
I mean, how can you predict that a guy is going to test? I think they said he had numbers that would have been the best of all time for 3 separate positions. How do you predict something like that? I mean, just absolutely insane numbers. So, and it's not like he had a bad Ohio State career. He just maybe wasn't the greatest linebacker that the world's ever seen. But when you have a stellar linebacker who also has the greatest measurables the combine has seen, that'll shoot you up the rankings.
A couple of other Ohio State draft picks that Dane Brugler has made here. A guy that we haven't talked about a whole lot is Davison Igbinosun. He has him going to the Packers in the 3rd round. He's got Caden Curry going in the 4th round. And then he actually likes another Ohio State tight end outside of Max Clare. Will Kazmarek he has going in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns. So, like you said, it's not the most Buckeyes that have ever been drafted, but you're going to see a good concentration in the top 10, the top 15, and then just a smattering of Buckeyes down the board. So all things considered, some certain intrigue on the later days of the draft as far as it goes with the Buckeyes too.
It'll be interesting. This is a strong Buckeye draft class. Aside from even those first rounders that we're expecting, which is just absolutely incredible. But like you said, Will Kazmarek, Caden Curry, Max Clare. We've got a lot of guys, David Igbinosun, who had a lot of success at Ohio State. Maybe, like I said, weren't immediate first-round picks, but they should have success in the NFL. You'll have teams who will pick them more as a fit than as a pure athlete that you just have to take off the board. So we'll see them. I think those guys are going to be they're going to end up in better situations for themselves than maybe some of these guys who are going to be picked in the top 15 who are going to teams that, just have perennially struggled. Even though they might have success themselves, I think if Caleb Downs gets picked up by the Saints, which is what I'm seeing on one of these draft boards, he should be, I think he would thrive with the Saints. But it's almost beneficial to go between 3rd and 7th because teams are picking you specifically for how you fit in their team, and they've evaluated you based on that fit rather than just we're going for the biggest name.
So I know we've got Browns and Bengals fans listening out there. So just to give you an idea of what Dane Brugler's looking at mock draft-wise for these guys, he's got that trade with the Cowboys that I mentioned, which provides the Browns even more draft capital than they're starting with. He's got the Browns trading back to 12, where they draft Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah. He has them taking Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver from Texas A&M, 20th, and then Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety from Toledo, at 24th. I know he's kind of a riser throughout the process that people are excited about. For the Bengals, it's also a big draft for them with a couple of picks in the top 50. He has them taking Mansour Delane, the cornerback from LSU, 10th, and then Peter Woods, defensive lineman from Clemson, 41st. Woods was a guy, if you think back to, again, I'll reference those way too early mock drafts, he and TJ Parker from Clemson were guys that were thought of at that point, maybe both would be top 10 picks, and then obviously things didn't work out for Clemson. But I just figured, sprinkle in a little love there for our Browns fans and our Bengals fans listening because, both of those teams are trying to get a lot out of this draft.
Yeah. And another topic that we had brushed up on, off air a little bit, which I feel like I am in the minority here, Fernando Mendoza. Everybody says that's a lock. Are you confident that he's a lock for the number one as well? Because there are almost no other quarterbacks who are projected to go first round.
Yeah, so I think it is probably a foregone conclusion that Tom Brady's Raiders will be taking Fernando Mendoza first overall, which it's crazy to think about because you think back to the summer and it's like Drew Aller, Arch Manning, Nussmeier from LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenora Sellers, Cade Klubnik, all these different names. And, before Dante Moore said he was going back to Oregon, it was going to be between likely he and Mendoza to be the number one overall pick. And you would have had probably two quarterbacks going first and second. And now with Dante Moore going back, the top two quarterbacks, it looks like, are Fernando Mendoza and then Ty Simpson.
Who might go top 20?
Brugler has him going in the second round, 34th overall to the Cardinals. So that would make one first-round quarterback, which is, that's crazy.
Yeah, you don't usually see something like that.
No. Nate, you were all over it.
I was going to say, before the season, there was a mock draft that came out just before the season started. They predicted 6 quarterbacks in the top 15, and none of them are going.
Wow.
Nate, who's your team?
Ohio State.
No,
the Bengals.
The Bengals? What do you want them to do? I know if
there is some world in which Caleb Downs drops there, I want Caleb Downs on my team. Other than that, get someone on the line.
D-line or O-line?
O-line.
Yeah. The Bengals they got a lot of work to do, right?
They could pick anyone on the defense or an offensive lineman, and I will be happy.
Yeah,
sounds like they're getting a receiver.
Like it's a big draft for them, right? Like it is you've got to come up with some fixes and get starters in this draft. I was
checking when Sonny Styles had those numbers come up. I'm like, well, there's no way he's getting past Cincinnati under no circumstances.
Especially with how much success they had with Sam Hubbard. They would definitely jump at the opportunity to get another Ohio State guy.
Yeah, you're right about that. And Sonny Styles, the testing just absolutely off the charts.
Can't argue with it.
Absolutely off the charts. You love to hear that. You love to see that for Sonny Styles and a guy that has helped him out in a big way in this draft process. Again, the first round of the draft coming up Thursday at 8 o'clock in Pittsburgh. 3-day event, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, 4 through 7 on Saturday. The Columbus Blue Jackets unfortunately missed out on the Stanley Cup playoffs, so they are looking forward to the NHL draft, which will be later on this summer. And they've got a head coach coming back to help them in the process. Rick Bowness back with the Blue Jackets for another season. We're going to talk about that coming up with team reporter Jeff Svoboda, Fan Sports Saturday, right here on The Fan.
If you miss a live show, you can catch the podcast. If you miss the podcast, our hosts have volunteered to have dinner with you.
The meat
The Fan.
The new Omaha Steak Store is now open at 1033 Polaris Parkway at Polaris Commons. Stop in today and save 50% store-wide on legendary steaks, burgers, and more. Plus, get doorbuster deals starting at just $19.99. Discover the Omaha Steaks difference today at the new store at Polaris Commons in Columbus.
We can come the day you call us.
We're 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
Brian, I've been meaning to ask you something.
Okay, ask away.
Sometimes when we're talking, I hear a little sparkling sound.
Is it when one of us says, all you have to do is point?
There it is. Did you hear that?
That's the sound of magic happening.
Magic? Like we can come the day you call us? Wow.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
Family owned and operated. It isn't all sunshine and rainbows. This is Dennis Sullivan, president of Care Heating and Cooling. Here's something you don't hear admitted very often. When you run a business with your family, you don't always get along with them. We argue, we debate, we have real conversations about the decisions that we make. But at Care, every conversation comes back to our priorities, doing right by our employees and our customers. Because when you treat your team like family, they take better care of the families they serve. And when you treat your customers the way you'd want your own family treated, trust follows. That mindset doesn't always maximize short-term profits, but it builds something better, long-term relationships. Today, more and more local companies are being bought by venture capital firms, where maximizing profits often leads to a sales-first mentality. Care is still family-owned and locally operated, so we can keep people, not profits, at the center of every decision. Care Heating and Cooling. Call 1-800-COOLING when you need a company you can trust.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Sign your kids up for the Columbus Aviators Kids Club and score 2 free tickets to a game. Join now at UFLaviators.com to join today. Need a roof you can count on? Ramos Roofing has protected homes and businesses throughout Ohio for almost 20 years. Whether it's a leaky roof, storm damage, new siding, or new gutters to protect your foundation, Ramos Roofing delivers quality materials, professional installation, and honest service every time. Get your free roof or exterior assessment today and ask about Ramos Roofing's no-interest financing options. Call 614-761-7663 or visit online at ramosroofingohio.com.
All your favorite fan shows are on YouTube, along with those fake YouTube ads like Chew This Gum and It Grows New Teeth. Experience the splendor of Bo sitting in his closet, Timmy Hall's gouty gold chains, and Matty Ice wearing a coat in 90-degree weather. It's all there. Head to YouTube and subscribe today.
Working your way through that home projects list, that means more flushes, more showers, more fiddling with the thermostat. Trust the pros at the Waterworks with your plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling needs. Our certified pros can repair or replace your air conditioner or furnace. Clogs? Call the Waterworks. Drain issues? Call the Waterworks. Plumbing problems? Call the Waterworks. HVAC breakdowns? Call the Waterworks. The Waterworks. Trusted and certified plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling experts.
Recalculating route. Estimated arrival time. Never.
For people with nasal congestion, snoring, or sleep apnea, finding a solution feels like a never-ending road trip.
First stop, my primary doctor. Then the pharmacy. Then a sleep specialist. Then an ENT.
What if there was just one destination for all your problems?
Welcome to Advent, your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care in one location. Over 95% of patients with severe nasal breathing issues report improvement. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
You have arrived at Clear Breathing.
Why choose between getting things done and doing things with the ones you love? With Kroger same-day pickup and delivery, it's easy to shop the same great prices and quality you'd find in store. We'll bring your groceries right to you in our refrigerated trucks so you can spend time on what matters most. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Save $20 on your first Kroger pickup or delivery order of $75 or more. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Mostly cloudy skies and breezy. Temperatures fall from the 70s down into the 60s. Any rain ends early tonight with clearing skies late, lower 40s for a low. For Sunday, it'll be much cooler with highs in the mid-50s. Sunshine in the morning, more clouds in the afternoon with a couple of stray sprinkles. Breezy as well. For The Fan, I'm 10 Weather Impact meteorologist Justin Gertz.
An encyclopedic knowledge of sports and other random things you may or may not care about.
I think I found my mentor.
Rockman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan. We firmly believe it's appropriate to tailgate before a youth soccer game. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
A disappointing finish for your Columbus Blue Jackets this season, missing the Stanley Cup playoffs. They finished the season with a record of 40, 30, and 12. If you and I were talking about a month ago, the Blue Jackets looked like they were going to make it, but they finished slow, 2-7-1 in their final 10 games this season. They fall short. A tough way to end the year, but they do finish things with a positive note, locking up head coach Rick Bowness for another season. So, with Bowness coming back, I want to chat with Blue Jackets team reporter Jeff Svoboda, who's joining us right now. Jeff, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, Dylan. Always good to chat about the Jackets, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right about that. And even though it was a disappointing finish, not making the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Blue Jackets begin what is a huge offseason with a win, and that's bringing Rick Bowness back. What do you think this does for the team, the outlook going into free agency, the draft, trades, all of that?
Well, you heard Blue Jackets players in their exit interviews this week talking about how much they enjoyed playing for Rick Bowness. Damon Severson said he was the best coach he ever played for. And there was kind of similar comments from so many of the players and, the way he was able to get them to play when he first came in. And, I think you saw just how much passion and how much Bowness cares with those comments after the game. Tuesday night, that certainly went viral. If you paid any attention to sports, you probably saw them because they were on every, sports show, people talking about them. So, the players, there were certain things Bones said that they may not have fully agreed with as far as, the level of care that, I think he was just kind of went a little bit over the top in his comments. He admitted that, but I think he wanted to deliver a message. He wanted to show, what he thinks of this team and what potential is there and that he believes he could take them to that next level. And I think the players believe that he's the guy that can do that as well. So I think, for the Blue Jackets, that was order number one of business to get done coming into this offseason was figuring out the coaching situation, deciding if Rick Bowness was going to be back. And now he is, and I think the buy-in is obvious from him now. I think the players understand that, and I think it sets up well for this offseason, especially I know a lot of the UFAs want to keep playing for him, and that's something that are going to have to get done as well. So a good start to the offseason and good to have that done.
Jeff, thanks for joining us. We've seen a little bit of quick turnover with the last couple coaches at the Blue Jackets, and bringing in Rick Bowness, who's the longest tenured head coach in NHL history, and I'm seeing longest tenured assistant coach record too. Do you think that he has some staying power with the Blue Jackets? He came in and halfway through the season, had a nice little run, maybe didn't finish how we would have liked, but it was a difficult time to come in and get the team turned around that quickly. What's your prediction moving forward with Rick Bowness? How much time do you think he has to build a stellar Blue Jackets team?
Well, they said at the press conference on Thursday that it's just, the current deal is for the upcoming season, and then they will revisit it at the end of the year, just as they did this past season. And I think that's just, he is the oldest coach in the NHL at age 71, although he hates when we bring that up. But at the same time, it's reality. And so, I don't think he's someone that's going to be coaching till he's 80 for sure. But, you spend time around him and the energy is still there. And it feels like one of those things that as long as it's working, they feel like he's going to be here and he'll want to be here. So, you are right. There's been a fair amount of turnover over the years. And, again, I don't know. Of course, in the NHL, very few coaches, last more than 3 or 4 years. It's just nature of the game anymore. But, everybody just feels comfortable with the current situation. And one thing that maybe you'll have to watch with the assistant coaches is, will kind of a younger up-and-coming coach kind of be brought in to work under him. I know you've got Trent Vogelhuber down in Cleveland, and he's done a great job with the Monsters there. They're about to make their third straight playoff appearance. And, maybe a guy that, if you want to keep in the organization because he's going to get looked at for jobs, is he someone that gets called up to the NHL level? Just, to make sure that, he's someone that continues to be part of the mix. And so you could maybe see something like that happen. But you're in a situation where, especially the way the league is, I'm not terribly worried about the age or anything like that. I feel like Rick Bowness will be here as long as it seems like it's a fit. And that's the way it is pretty much everywhere around the NHL.
Talking with Jackets insider Jeff Svoboda. He's the Columbus Blue Jackets team reporter. And Jeff, if you and I were talking at the beginning of this last season, a huge question mark surrounding the franchise would have been the situation in net. Elvis Merzlikins and Jet Greaves, the Blue Jackets tandem going into last season. Elvis had had his struggles the year prior. Jet Greaves had not been a full-time NHLer until this season. Jet did an awesome job to establish himself as, not just the Blue Jackets starter, but one of the better young goaltenders in the entire National Hockey League. What did Jet Greaves doing that mean for the Blue Jackets this season, and what does him establishing himself as that good starter do for this franchise going forward?
Yeah, it's huge because, and Bones said this the other day, but, if you paid attention to hockey over the years, the teams that win have good goaltending and don't have question marks in that spot. And, there certainly were question marks coming into the season. Jet had the tremendous end to the campaign a year ago, but, could he play 50 or so games at the NHL level? And it's always a question and it's always a test until you can prove that you can do it. And Jet did it. I mean, you look at his numbers, the consistency that he brought from a game-to-game basis was tremendously impressive. That every goalie is going to have games that are probably not their best, but I think that if you look at the body of work, the 50 or so games that Jet played, he shows up, he gives you a chance to win, he gives you exactly what you need on a nightly basis. And so I think that obviously kind of solidifies things there because you've got Elvis Merzlikins going into the final year of his contract a year from now. There's, some young goalies in the pipeline I think they feel good about, but are still not quite at the NHL level. So, it'll be some time before those guys get in. So they're going to have to make some decisions there in the next maybe, this upcoming season and maybe a year or two after. But it feels like with Jet Greaves in net, you've got a guy you can build around. And it's just players love playing in front of him, the consistency, the calmness, the attitude that he has. Such a hard worker. Everyone likes him. And he just has all of the intangibles that a goalie needs to have to be successful at the NHL level. And then he showed he can handle the workload of a 50-game season or whatever it might be. So that's a pretty big, good sign for the Blue Jackets going forward.
Jeff, there could be some changes for the Blue Jackets this offseason. Lots of unrestricted free agents that will or won't be brought back. The Blue Jackets have some key restricted free agents. What does this offseason look like for the Columbus Blue Jackets?
Yeah, if you're Don Waddell, you've got to have a pretty big to-do list. I don't know if he uses the Notes app or whatever he does, but he's going to have a lot on his plate to figure out because...
That's why he's got that phone on a holster, baby.
Exactly. Because I think I counted up, there was 8 players from the team this season who played NHL games who were unrestricted free agents, and that includes obviously some big names like Boone Jenner, Charlie Coyle, Eric Goodbranson, Mason Marchment. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of your team. And then you've also got Adam Fantilli, Jet Greaves, and Cole Sillinger as restricted free agents. So you've got to work out contracts with those guys. So that's more than 10 guys just currently on the roster you have to make decisions on. And I'm sure you'd like to have all of those guys back, but, there's also the business reality of, term and compensation and the salary cap and all that. So you've got a lot to figure out right off the hop there. And that's even before it goes into, what changes are you going to make to this team in the offseason as far as trades and free agency and things like that. So it's going to be a busy time. And, especially when you don't make the playoffs, you've got to look very critically at everything and say, where can we get better? I mean, the Jackets, the scoring at times was an issue. I think depth defensively at times was an issue. So those are things you're going to have to look at. They're still looking for kind of a game breaker up front, and it's hard to find those guys. But you think that Adam Fantilli and Kirill Marchenko are guys that can kind of develop into that. But, clearly as the season went on, they were, kind of struggling to find some goals and struggling to figure out exactly who was going to be in those top 2 lines. So that's something you got to get solidified. So there's a lot on Don's plate, and it'll be very interesting to see exactly how this team looks when they get back together in September because the potential for changes is there because you've got to make a lot of decisions.
Jeff, I know you're a big fighter, so what did you think about the fisticuffs to open up the Stanley Cup playoffs? Brady Tkachuk and Jordan Stahl going right at it.
That's out of the Team USA Four Nations playbook, isn't it?
I guess so.
And the gloves, yeah, right off the hop. So it's a tone setter, I guess. I don't know exactly, for which team, to be honest with you, because both teams fought at the opening faceoff. So it's not like maybe one gets an edge out of it over the other. But hey, you know what? Why not? If it's just gonna show you this is Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's what we miss here in Columbus. You miss kind of that intensity and that. Just how much it means to the players and what the game is like this time of year. And hopefully, for all the talk over the last couple days about where the Blue Jackets need to get better and stuff, I still think that in general, they're in a good position as an organization. They've increased their point percentage each of the last 4 years. They've got some good young players. They're still figuring it out, and they still got to get over that hump. And obviously next year is going to be a huge year to do it, but you just missed the playoffs. You're not that far away from playoff hockey. So hopefully it's next season.
All right, Jeff, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Dylan.
All right, there he is. Blue Jackets team reporter Jeff Svoboda. You can find him on X at Jackets Insider. Find all of his work at bluejackets.com. Nothing quite like the Stanley Cup playoffs. A fight to start things off.
That's how it should be, though, right?
Yeah, I absolutely
always love seeing
that.
them drop the gloves. I wish they had that in more sports.
Can you fight?
Hey, we can find out.
I don't think I want to. You're a lot bigger than me.
You never know.
Nothing like the Stanley Cup playoffs. The playoffs in full swing right now in hockey and basketball. Cavs won earlier today. We've got the NBA playoffs for the rest of tonight, the Stanley Cup playoffs the rest of tonight. So that's what we're talking about next. We are going to tell you what we are most excited to see in both the NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs when we come back. Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
With over 33 years of experience, Newman Roofing has become a household name in Central Ohio. Voted best roofing company 4 years in a row, Newman Roofing delivers a white glove experience every time. When it comes to your roof, call 614-NEW-ROOF or visit newmanroofing.com today.
At Great Lakes Hyundai, the savings are so good.
Spring into savings at Great Lakes Hyundai. Right now, drive your new Hyundai with payments as low as $94 per month for a 2-year lease. Get spring lease savings on every model from Elantra to Palisade. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with owner assurance and America's best warranty. A 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain coverage. Dublin or Columbus or glakeshyundai.com. With approved credit payment on 26 Elantra SC, $39.95 down plus tax title first month payment. 7,500 miles per year and $430.
Grilling season starts now at Billiards Plus. Shop top-of-the-line grills and turn every cookout into a win. Then bring the fun inside with pool tables, shuffleboard, and more. Everything for the ultimate game room. Billiards Plus. Grills, games, and good times. Online or on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Getting a little older doesn't have to mean, well, getting older. This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health. And if you're feeling low energy, can't sleep, can't lose weight, are struggling with brain fog, or your sex drive is off, it's time to change it up. At Tri-State Men's Health, our advanced medical strategies featuring TRT, GH peptides, NAD+, GLP-1s, and more treat low T and other hormonal issues to help you shed pounds, have more energy, enhance your body composition, improve sleep, increase your sex drive, and so much more, getting you back in the game again. So don't be older. Be stronger in the gym. Be sharper at work. Be better in the bedroom, and be more confident in every part of your life. So call us today and find out how our advanced treatment strategies could change the game for you. Your first visit is just $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on one of our advanced treatment plans on the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com.
Feature therapies are compounded and have not been evaluated nor approved by the FDA. Provider prescription required. See website for details.
The Big Nine was a sad, incomplete place. Enter Ohio State. The rest is history. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
The Fan. Garnish your Bloody Mary with sports talk. You're listening to Fan Sports Saturday.
Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett, Nate Puderbaugh with you on this rainy Saturday afternoon. It's playoff time, baby. I know we talked a lot about the Ohio State spring game, which was earlier today, but man, oh man, I have been very excited to talk about the playoffs, both NBA and NHL. Michael, let's start off talking some hoops here because the Cavs won their first game earlier today. They took care of the Toronto Raptors, so Cleveland leads that series 1-0. We've got another game going on right now, game 1 between the T-Wolves and the Nuggets. Lots of intrigue in that series. Middle of the second quarter, the Timberwolves lead Denver 43-40, so a good game to start things off. But what are you thinking going into the NBA playoffs here? Can the Thunder repeat their heavy favorites, which we'll get into, but a lot more intrigue. Like you got Wemby in there with, I guess, kind of the reins off. The Spurs are gonna let Wemby go, so I'm excited to see what this all looks like.
I think the Thunder would have a hard time repeating. I think it's one of those situations, we've seen teams repeat in the past where they were clear favorites. They had superstars up and down the roster. I think this is a situation where we have the top 4 teams, the favorites, with the Thunder, the Spurs, the Celtics, and the Nuggets. I think all have genuine opportunities at this title. I think it'll be an exciting playoff opportunity, and you've got Golden State out of the equation. So, we've got I love seeing the fresh faces in the NBA starting to make names for themselves. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with the Thunder has been absolutely electric. I personally love watching Wemby play because it just looks like you're watching AI. I don't know how somebody's built like that and can move like that. And I think that this season is his opportunity to establish his dominance in the NBA and really show people that he's more than just, someone who's fun to watch. He's more than just amazing, as an athlete. He's a winner too. So I think that he's going to be hunting in these playoffs. So I want to see what he's capable of. And then you've got Jason Tatum and Jokic who have shown what they can do, shown that they're championship caliber, and they're going to be hungry to establish their dynasty and show people that they're not one-hit wonders or, they've got opportunities to really establish their legacy as well.
I'll just go through the bracket, too, for people that aren't sure what's going on with the NBA playoffs, maybe aren't familiar, to get yourself kind of oriented here. So we've got the Thunder and the Suns in the West, the Lakers and the Rockets, the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, who we talked about, and the Spurs and the Trailblazers. That's the field out of the Western Conference. The Eastern Conference, the Pistons are the 1 seed. They're taking on the Magic. The Cavs, the 4 seed, battling the Raptors. Cleveland, of course, up 1-0. The Knicks and the Hawks, and then the Celtics and the 76ers round things out. The Celtics are the 2 seed in what was supposed to be a down year for Boston. Jason Tatum was supposed to miss this entire season with the Achilles. Jaylen Brown stepped up, and Tatum comes back miraculously just in time for the playoffs. So the Celtics look like they're in position to really make a run at this thing. You look at the NBA championship odds, Oklahoma City, massive favorites. They are minus 110 to repeat as NBA champions. Behind them, you've got Wemby and the Spurs at 6-1. The Celtics also 6-1 with Tatum back in the lineup. The Nuggets are 13-1, the Cavs 13-1, and then the Pistons 16-1. So those are all the favorites there. It's funny, isn't it, that you've got the Pistons who are the 1 seed in the East, but the Celtics way bigger favorites to win the NBA championship.
I mean, have we seen a lot of success coming out of the Detroit Pistons in a long time? And when you have the Celtics who have shown that they're, they have the ability to win. Now you have the questions with their star being injured and can he come back and be what we need him to be? But I would also probably put the Celtics over the Pistons.
Yeah. I was saying earlier, if the Cavs want to make a run at this, they got the exact right draw for them.
Yeah. So what do you think here? What's the path for the Cleveland Cavaliers to make it to the NBA Finals? How do you think this all shapes up if they want to make it?
I think the Pistons are beatable, especially by the Cavs. I think that is a very good matchup for the Cavs. And then you got to take down Boston, which is not going to be an easy task. But you got the right teams to face to get there.
The question is, we picked up James Harden. The Cavs, I said we. The Cavs picked up James Harden, who is an incredible player, but has notoriously not been able to perform in the playoffs. Will he kill the curse this year and actually take the Cavs pretty deep in this?
Harden had a pretty good game.
Good game today.
Good game today.
Pretty good game 1 for Harden. 22 points. He was 4 for 7 from 3, had 10 assists. So a nice day for James Harden. Donovan Mitchell did Donovan Mitchell things. He shot 11 for 20 from the field. 32 points for him, 4 for 7 from 3. So you like that. You love that in game one from the Cavs, right? I feel like they're the type of team where it's like if you can ride that wave, ride the momentum, that's a team that can get hot and really find themselves in the playoffs. Like I know you've got some of these other powerhouses with, I would put Boston in that category with Tatum back and obviously the teams out of the West. But I think the Cavs can compete with anybody if they get hot at the right time.
Yeah, I think the Thunder, like you said, we've got those top teams who are going to be just a heavy lift for anybody to beat. But I think the Cavs have the opportunity. You have to have your stars perform in the playoffs. That just is what it is in any sport. And so I think the Cavs have a solid team, a lot of balance on their team, but you need James Harden to show up and not just, 22 points is not, a little bit. It's a good performance, but we need him to be having 30, 40-point games if he's going to be that guy on the Cavs in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that he can actually show up a little bit and not have a traditional James Harden playoff performance. But I think a lot will ride on that.
All right, Nate, take the Thunder out of the equation. Give me who you think can win the NBA championship. Like if the Thunder are out of the equation, who do you think wins it?
I've had Boston for the last couple of months.
Do you think Boston wins it regardless?
Yep.
You don't believe in the Spurs? I'm betting on the Spurs.
Yeah, that's my pick too.
I would love, as a Spurs fan, I would love the Spurs to go, but I think it's Boston's year.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics are an intriguing team, especially with what feels like a different Jaylen Brown unlocked now. I was listening to an interview with Joe Mazzulla the other day, and he called Jaylen Brown a weapon. He said he went into weapon mode this season, which is scary. I like to hear that. But the Spurs, it's like, you have an opportunity here to
the Spurs are the only team that can take down Oklahoma City.
Yeah, like
in the West.
You have an opportunity to witness history, with Wemby. Like this guy, like the rain's off, no minutes limit, playoff Wemby. We could see something special here.
I don't see how people, as Wemby continues to grow as a basketball player, how people can stop his teams. Now, it's up to the Spurs to put a good team around him, which I think they have. But I think that he's shown that he cares about winning. He's not just a guy who's going out there to collect a check. He believes in creating a legacy, making his name remembered and not just being a flash in the pan. I think when this guy turns it on, I don't know how other teams are going to be able to stop him.
Do we think the Lakers can do anything?
Isn't that the craziest part? Is we're talking about the NBA playoffs. We haven't mentioned LeBron's name once.
Right. Like, do we think LeBron has anything in the do we think the Lakers can do anything?
No.
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 Okay.
I would love to see LeBron make another run at it.
If Luka was fully healthy, maybe they make something interesting.
Yeah.
They could always call it Bronny. He could take him to the championship. No? Crickets? Not going to happen?
That series could be history too. You're looking at Kevin Durant versus LeBron James, like the old guys in the NBA going at it. It could be fun. We'll see. I don't know.
I think we've seen a real changing of the guard.
Yeah. I do think that Timberwolves Nuggets series is a lot of fun though. Like while some of these teams are obviously heavy favorites, some of the series are fun, right? Like I feel like the NBA playoffs, people talk about it like, oh, nobody can beat the Thunder. Oh, nobody can beat the Spurs. Oh, the Celtics are the heavy favorite in the East. But some of these first-round series are at least fun. Like, you're going to see good competitive basketball. And I think, this Nuggets Timberwolves series is right at the top, and you're seeing that in game one. It's really close going to halftime. So
Anthony Edwards is always electric to watch.
Yeah, he's so fun.
He's fun to watch. People have been rooting for him to go pretty deep into the playoffs and win a title. We'll see what he's got. I think he's got the killer mentality, so we'll see what he can do as well.
All right, that's NBA talk. I want to talk Stanley Cup playoffs coming up. We talked about that fight right off the drop of the puck in the first game. I love that between the Senators and the Hurricanes. Lots of other good hockey on the horizon. I'll give you my thoughts on that coming up. Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
Head to 971thefan.com to listen on demand and subscribe to all our podcasts. Wasting time has never been easier. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Aaron, I've invented something really important.
Great. Tell me what it is.
You know how water heaters never give the homeowner any sort of signal that they are about to quit working?
Jerry, did you invent a way to solve that problem?
I sure did. I call it the Eco First Responder System.
I like it. How does it work?
Well, When your hot water heater quits working and you have no hot water, just call ECO before 5 p.m. and we guarantee to install your new hot water heater that same day, even if you decide to go tankless.
Jerry, that's been our policy for a long time. What exactly did you invent?
I invented the name, Aaron. The name. The ECO First Responder System. I thought you said you liked it.
Sure, Jerry. It's a great name for a really strong guarantee.
When your water heater quits working, just call ECO before 5 p.m. and we guarantee to install your new hot water heater that same day, even if you decide to go tankless.
You're a great guy, Jerry. I'm really glad you work here.
Get ECO.
ECO. GetEco.com.
I love Right Pack Credit Union because they're solution driven. I feel valued as a member.
They're focused on the latest technology and the personal connections.
Experience benefits that go beyond banking with Right Pack Credit Union. Just ask our actual members.
I definitely recommend Right Pack to all my family and friends as a credit union of choice.
Visit one of our Columbus area Right Pack Credit Union member centers near you. Based on individual members' experiences, results may vary.
Recently, our company softball team lost a big game by 1 run. Then Dale tried to console us with the quote, "Winning isn't everything." Dale's a loser. I play to win, like early payout from Bet365. If my team goes up big, I get paid out instantly, even if they blow the lead later. Sound familiar, Dale? Bet365. Winning is everything. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-MY-RESET. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. T&Cs apply. In-app only.
A noisy garage door is a cry for help. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Don's Garage Door Service. Most repairs are simple, but if left untreated, they can turn into costly repairs. Your garage door works hard every day, and a little maintenance goes a long way. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime. Over 90,000 five-star reviews don't happen by accident. They happen by putting people first. Fixing your garage doors is what we do. From repairs to upgrades, call Don's Garage Door Service today.
With the first pick of my favorite places in Columbus, I choose Hollywood Casino Columbus. The draft is coming up. 4 in the top 10. Oh, man, is this draft going to be fun. So much fun, we need to throw a party. Scotty Vegas here, and come to the sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus on Thursday, April 23rd for the draft. We're going to have contests, prizes, and best bets. See you at 7 on Thursday, April 23rd. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Bishop and Friends.
My grandma, when I was growing up, only called us if the weather was going to be bad or if milk was on sale at Kroger.
Bishop and Friends, sponsored by Diamond Seller.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on The Fan.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. Mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Need a roof you can count on? Ramos Roofing has protected homes and businesses throughout Ohio for almost 20 years. Whether it's a leaky roof, storm damage, new siding, or new gutters to protect your foundation, Ramos Roofing delivers quality materials, professional installation, and honest service every time. Get your free roof or exterior assessment today and ask about Ramos Roofing's no-interest financing options. Call 614-761-7663 or visit online at ramosroofingohio.com.
James Laurinaitis here for my guys at Green & Sons, the premier Kubota dealership in Central Ohio. Green & Sons has all the Kubotas you need to tackle your land and come out a winner. They have zero-turn skid steers, tractors from 18 to 171 horsepower, and also utility vehicles. My favorite is my RTV Sidekick. The best thing about Green & Sons is they've been family-owned and operated since 1970, and you will love dealing with the Green family and their winning team. Do what I did and check out Green & Sons located in Mount Sterling and Marysville or online at greenandsons.com for all your Kubota needs.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here for my friends at High Bank Distillery Co. It's well known High Bank is my go-to when I want an award-winning whiskey, but did you also know that they make the best vodka in America? They have 3 incredible spots here in Central Ohio where the food is just as good as what's in the glass. They've got something for everyone, and get this, kids eat half off every Monday, so whether you're sipping on the best vodka in America or simply grabbing a meal with family and friends, High Bank delivers every time. Find a location and a menu at highbankco.com. Dine, drink, distill at High Bank.
All your favorite fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Live, local, and still slightly drunk.
I'm not drunk, all right? I just have a speech impediment.
This is Fan Sports Saturday.
Dylan Tyrer, Michael Bennett, Nate Puderbaugh with you. This is our final segment of the show, and man, oh man, guys, this has been a lot of fun. We've got another good slate here on The Fan tomorrow, 7 a.m., Ohio Sports Magazine. 8 o'clock, we've got The Fan Call-In Show, Scotty Vegas and Ryan Baker taking you through. Then at 9 o'clock, On the Money with Dave Biddle and Scotty Vegas. Scotty Vegas, a busy man tomorrow. Then at 11 a.m., Fan Sports Saturday, Cole Bartimus and Jacob Reimer. We've also got the Reds tomorrow afternoon. Reds at Twins, first pitch 2:10. Time to talk Stanley Cup playoffs. Michael, I know you're not the biggest hockey guy in the world, so I'm going to do like the Google AI search for you, but with my brain. I'm going to tell you a little bit about every series.
Perfect.
And we're just going to go from there.
It's going to function as an interview almost.
Yeah.
As you like, because you're the hockey guy. You know it through and through.
Yeah, hockey's my thing. So we'll start off in the Western Conference. Round 1 matchup between the Colorado Avalanche and the Los Angeles Kings. Colorado is the favorite to win the Stanley Cup this season. One of the best teams in the NHL. They were the best team during the regular season, and that's because they've got one of the best forwards in the league in Nathan McKinnon and the best defenseman in the NHL in Cale Makar. I think this year, specifically in the Eastern Conference, the playoffs are wide open. That's because there are no Florida Panthers. Florida is the back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champion. They were banged up this year, and they missed the playoffs. So the East is wide open. The West, though, I think this is an easy series win for the Colorado Avalanche. The next matchup, though, is intriguing. Dallas versus Minnesota. They are in the same division as the Colorado Avalanche, and those three teams are three of the best in the NHL. The way the NHL does the playoffs, though, it's not just like the 1 through 8, 1 versus 8 in the first round. It's more so the division matchups. The first team plays the wild card. The second best team plays the wild card, but then it's 2 versus 3 in the division. So you've got Dallas taking on Minnesota. Both of these teams could win the Stanley Cup. I think this is going to be a great series. You've got Dallas. They're a stacked team. They're dealing with some injuries. And then you've got Minnesota, who's also really good. They have a really stellar defensive core. That's a series that could go 7 games. Like, it could go either way. But I do think, Dallas right now, I think, is being undervalued to win the Stanley Cup. They're 13-1 to win the Stanley Cup, and I think Dallas can get it done. They've been sniffing for a few years, but that's like the series to watch in the West. Next up, you've got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Utah Mammoth. Utah is the top wild card team. Vegas had a really bad season, and they fired their coach with a week left in the season.
I remember you talking about that, yep.
And they brought in the old Blue Jackets head coach, John Tortorella, and he's got them rolling right now. Vegas is like a sleeping giant for me. They've still got the same roster. They've got one of the best rosters in the NHL. They were just sleepy under Bruce Cassidy this season. Now they've woken up under John Tortorella. This is another team that I think might be undervalued to win the Stanley Cup that could very well get it done. 12-1 to win the Stanley Cup, the Vegas Golden Knights. I think we could see an upset in that series. I like Utah more than a lot of people do, but I think Vegas is a team to watch. Why did you give me the ugh?
As a Blue Jackets fan, the existence of this playoff matchup makes me sick.
Okay, understood. The final one we've got here, the Edmonton Oilers, the team that has been to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years with the best player in the NHL, Connor McDavid. They had a down year this year, though. Like, the Oilers, compared to the last 2 Oilers teams that went to the Stanley Cup final, this Oilers team is the worst, but they still have Connor McDavid. They still have Leon Draisaitl, 2 of the 5 best forwards in the NHL.
How much do you weigh, a chip on their shoulder for not being able to get it done the last couple of years, and then still having those stars on the team who obviously want to put their name in lights?
For Connor McDavid, it's everything. Like, this guy is potentially like the greatest NHL player of all time. Like, that's how good he is, but he hasn't won the big one yet.
Yeah.
So, like, getting there and winning it for him is huge. In this offseason, he signed a 2-year contract extension for less money with Edmonton. He could have gone... He would have been a free agent this offseason, could have gone anywhere in the NHL and been the highest paid player of all time. He took less money to extend with Edmonton to try to get it done there. So it's huge.
So you're expecting big things out of him in this playoff.
I mean, he's going to have to go crazy. Like I said, this is they're worse than they were the last 2 seasons. He's going to have to go crazy, and they're taking on a young upstart Anaheim Ducks team. So it's probably a little bit rich for the Anaheim Ducks. They're pretty good, but it's Connor McDavid and the Oilers. So I think the Oilers will get it done there. We move on to the East, where I said it's wide open. You've got the Buffalo Sabres, who ended the longest playoff drought in sports, 14 years. They're back in the playoffs. That place is ready to pop. Buffalo is really good. They're the top seed in their division, and they're taking on the top wild card team, the Boston Bruins. Boston, they could surprise some people. They're a team that's been there before. I just don't think they have the star power to match Buffalo. They do have the experience, though, over the Sabres, but give me the Sabres. The Sabres are like the fun team, I think, that everybody's rooting for. Then you've got the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Montreal Canadiens. Tampa Bay, that is like the wily vet seasoned team. They won 2 Stanley Cups. They've got an all-time great goaltender in Andrei Vasilevsky. They've got one of the best playmakers in the NHL in Nikita Kucherov, but no more Steven Stamkos with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Their captain isn't there anymore. It's just a little bit different of a look for Tampa, and they're one of those teams that everybody thinks they're going to fall off, but they don't fall off.
They just keep going.
Yeah, Tampa Bay just keeps going. They had a great season. They could win the Stanley Cup this year, but they're taking on a Montreal Canadiens team that's another young upstart, tons of offensive firepower, a lot of fun. They're built to be a contender for years to come. It's like it's almost like OKC a couple of years ago when you're like, oh man, they're building to be something. Kind of like that. Then we have the series that's already started, Carolina versus Ottawa. Ottawa, like analytically this year, was one of the best teams in the NHL. The only problem, they had horrible goaltending all year long. But they started to get hot at the end of the season, and they're one of those teams that maybe they caught fire at the right time, and they could catch Carolina. Carolina is a team that should have won a Stanley Cup by now. Like, they're always the best team in the regular season. Always. But they can't get it done in the playoffs. They always struggle in the playoffs. Is this the year? Is this the year they conquer those playoff demons? It's a tough first-round matchup against the Ottawa Senators. By the way, the Hurricanes lead that game 1-0 after 2 periods. Logan Stankoven is the goal scorer in that one. So that's a big series to watch for me. I think that could be a Senators upset. The last one, we've got Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Philadelphia is a team that was dead. I mean, they were dead. They weren't going to make the playoffs. Then they got white hot to end the season. And unfortunately, they got in over the Blue Jackets. Pittsburgh was a team that was supposed to be at the bottom of their division at the start of this season. Nobody thought the Penguins would be any good. Instead, they were good. Sidney Crosby, ageless wonder, 20 seasons in the NHL, back in the playoffs, and heck, they could do something.
I feel like every time I tune in to the NHL over the last 15 years, I've heard about Sidney Crosby. So it's incredible that he's still dominating at his age.
Yep, he is still going. The Colorado Avalanche, the favorites to win the Stanley Cup at plus 340. Tampa Bay, plus 470, second best odds. Carolina, third best at plus 550. Fourth best, Vegas, 12-1. The Oilers, also 12-1. Dallas, 13-1. Like I said, I could see Vegas getting it done. I could see Dallas getting it done. Connor McDavid could just go crazy, and the Oilers could get it done.
I'm almost rooting for the Oilers. And with my limited knowledge, I think that if they've been so close to getting it done over the last couple of years, and they have the star of the NHL on him, something about it just tells me, all right, he's got to be in that locker room telling people how important this is. They have to feel it, and I would expect him to be able to take them pretty far. Maybe he runs up against an issue in the Western Conference Finals against Colorado, but that would probably be an incredible series to watch.
I was going to say, it's been such a dogfight in the East all year long, and with basically everybody in the playoffs is just as good as anybody else.
Yeah.
I think by the time they get to the Stanley Cup Finals, they're going to be out of gas, whoever they play in the West.
Yeah, the East is very interesting because it is so wide open, and you might just see one team explode, but that's not a bad thought, that it could just be such a dogfight every series. Every series is going 6 or 7 games, and then everybody runs out of gas there, and they take on a hot team out of the West. The West, once you get to like the second and third rounds in the West, though, those are going to be some big boy matchups. But I don't mind that, Michael. I don't mind that thought at all. Connor McDavid getting it done this year.
I feel like the fans will want to see him finally walk away with some hardware, right?
Well, like if they were to get it done any year, this would be an insane year to get it done. Like I said, like they were considerably worse this season than they were either of the last two.
I was going to say, I got Vegas. Bringing in Torts for like the last week of the season is the greatest strategy that has ever happened.
It's genius. And he's like nice Torts right now.
Yeah.
He hasn't gone crazy yet, which, you know.
And always at the beginning of the series of this tenure is the best time of Torts.
Yep. So I can't wait for the Stanley Cup playoffs again. One game is happening right now. 1-0. The Hurricanes lead the Senators. Game 1 heading to the third period. Guys, this was so much fun. Love doing it with you. All right. Thank you guys for being with us. We'll catch you whenever we're back. Fan Sports Saturday on The Fan.
The radio couldn't contain us, so we've taken over YouTube. Catch Morning Juice weekday mornings at 6 by searching